in Dubai for the Grand Finals of 2020. And he's going for the title once again. 7 eliminations, that puts him back in the MVP race.
Earlier today, I got a chance to talk to him.
I was there.
You were next to me, and I was asking him, what's it feel like being back at PMGC? He was super happy to be here, and what he loved the most is the energy from the crowd. He said that in China he doesn't really get to experience that, but every single time, whether he gets eliminated or whether he gets an elimination, he feels that crowd and it hypes him up and it gets more excited.
I'm thinking of something. Powerboy said he's going to be in top 5, then top 5. Stan said he's going to get himself potentially to breathtaking. It's looking that way. I want to ask them the lottery numbers. They cannot lie.
Whoa, that is crazy because we're talking about Nova right now. They're not even in the top 8 right now. Instead, it's flying in second place. What?
I am speechless. By the way, iNCO Gaming, Vitaly, what a performance for your team when they needed a performance out of you. For him to be able to stay alive that long, and on top of that, second
because
place.
we were talking about Nova right now. They're not even in the top 8 right now. Instead, it is 4 Angry Men in second place, Evan. What?
I am speechless. By the way, iNCO Gaming, Vitaly, what a performance for your team when they needed a performance out of you. For him to be able to stay alive that long, and on top of that, he didn't have to stay for a long, long time, but when he got a chance, he decided to get some eliminations, and I thought that was massive for them. Alpha 7, I talked about it earlier too. That was a team that needed to start off hot. They did just that, and with Nova, it's a big surprise actually. They ended up losing a player super early on with Frozen to T2K.
And Nova pulled off their typical rotation we tend to see from them, from that gap split over to the Q position over to the east of George Pole. Unfortunately, teams, they're going to start to learn from you a little bit. They're going to know that your rotation is pretty much possible to shut down, and that's what they did. T2K. One player taking himself a one-on-one fight versus, I believe it was Frozen, eliminate that player, and then you're already hurting the numbers of Nova and struggling to get himself any points in that game.
We definitely saw them losing players on rotate. Going over to A7 because they were the other big contender in that late game area, right? They had such a good position. What happened?
Talk about it. Do we want to? Yeah, you know what? Let's actually talk about it as we do have Miramar coming up, and I can't wait to see who's going to be winning that Miramar. But with Alpha 7, I love the split that they had in Circle 4, but towards the end of Circle 5, when you have the same split and when you are that spread out, I didn't actually like that. I felt like they were getting away with it. They were getting super lucky. I did appreciate the push that they did on IHC to be able to eliminate them. How Mafioso was able to hold that top angle, and it worked out for them. I felt like they were trying to duplicate that against 4 Angry Men, and it just completely backfired.
Yeah, the longer they held on to that split, my hype turned into like worry and concern. I was like, you guys are maybe stretching that split a little bit too long in time, but at the end of the day, they still were able to get themselves a lot of point in this match to remain in that top position. But man, S2G, one of the top Miramar performers right now. If they can perform right now in this match, they can claim their position back on the podium.
They're definitely going to need to perform. I mean, with just putting up 1 point in the last match, it was interesting because that 1 point came from iNCO Gaming. We were like, okay, maybe S2G is going to be in first place after this match, and then completely backfire.
But Nova. That's my point.
But Nova
and Miramar. It's pretty good.
Talk about a team that we just saw in a great position as well that kind of just fell off that in the late game. It's DRS, and I was expecting them to perform well today in Miramar as well.
I wouldn't really call it a fall-off, to be honest, for DRS. As Black mentioned multiple times during that game, they are so good, so strong at clearing the edge. Like that 2-2 split game, so much information. The moment they have one team, they know we need to clear out this team to gain even more space on the edge of the circle. Regroup, full send it. I think they cleared like 2 teams at one point relatively easily too. And I'm telling you, they are a silent team. Sure, maybe not a team to get chicken dinners, but they get enough points where they could be in first place.
I appreciated their passiveness at one point when Alpha 7 was taking shots at them, and I think Alpha 7 knocked one of their players. They decided to just back off a little bit more and let Alpha 7 be aggressive towards somebody else. It worked out wonders for them, but that is Erangel. I mean, that's a team that has 2 wins in Erangel. I want to see what this team can do in Miramar, because just playing like that in Erangel is not going to be able to cut it for first place.
Talking about Miramar, let's look at some of the teams to watch from both our analysts. We'll have them. Actually, talking about teams to watch. Oh, there we have it. DRS on both of you guys' schedule. That's a superb actually transition, because we were just talking about them. Maybe going over to GODLIKE
STALWART, Miramar, because just playing like that in Erangel is not going to be able to cut it for first place.
Talking about Miramar, let's look at some of the teams to watch from both our analysts.
It's a little bit cold right now, so it's heating them up. It's heating me up right now. I do appreciate STALWART.
Oh, there we have DRS on both of you guys' schedule. That's superb actually transition.
I think they've been a little bit too silent, and that was
maybe going over to GODLIKE STALWART, because I felt like they had a good chance in the last game as well. Going over to Miramar, that's your pick?
Yeah, I still have the jersey. It's a little bit cold right now, so it's heating them up. It's heating me up right now. I do appreciate STALWART, but yeah, I do think that STALWART can be looking really good. They were looking really aggressive.
Yeah.
I think they've been a little bit too silent, and that was your question at the start of the show, right? Which is, can they potentially build that momentum on that 2nd and 3rd place ending day 2? And seemed like they were looking aggressive. Sure, not a podium finish in that game, but for me it shows that there were some changes that were made, and I did talk to also Senator. They did make iterations for today, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Top was going absolutely ham in the last game. I think 5 or 6 eliminations on his own. Going over to you, 7, 4 AM is on your pick, and I mean, they just had a phenomenal game. You think that's going to continue to Miramar?
Yeah, I actually picked them way before they ended up winning the last match. when they were doing so well, I just controlled the other circle, and I think that's something that they're able to actually do really great in Miramar, that they have just gotten unlucky in certain situations. They got super blitzed by that circle in aerial. I want to see if they do end up getting blitzed again, if they're going to take full advantage. I mean, to have 3 players over 1k damage, that just goes to show that they were being proactive, and I did pick DRS because of what I just said earlier. They perform really well in aerial, but I want to see them perform really well in Miramar as well.
And especially seeing Stan himself 7 eliminations on that game, I cannot tell you how good of a storyline that would be. MVP 2 years ago loses the MVP title to Order of Brethren in the PEL to reclaim it back over here in Jakarta, Indonesia, in this season of the Grand Finals.
100%. Talking about one of the teams that's also at the very top. They just had the first frag, but also went out as the very first team. S2G. Any thoughts about S2G coming up?
No. No, I think they just got caught with their pants down. I think it's kind of like a situation that happened. They were trying to go for River Cross. Wolves were there. I think even STALWART third party that fight. So unfortunately, it was a smart rotation because it's always rough. As we know, when you have that phase 1, phase 2 circle, you've got that River in play. It's about a 50-50 split. It's always going to make it really rough to pull off those rotations. So I'm not going to hold it against them. They were already looking so comfortable at the start of the day. But just don't allow it to happen too often. Like, rivers are a big issue, so just be careful.
Going over to another team that's also at the very, well, not also very bottom, but that is at the very, very bottom, actually, is Vampire. They also, again, lost SwapX very early on. Any hopeful
I'm not even going to let you finish that.
No?
They're absolutely done. Whatever changes they were trying to do yesterday, it's just not going to happen at this point. I think the team... What I expect out of them is at one point today we might see some madness, and I feel like it's gonna be in the last game where this skill is gonna come through, right? They're gonna realize, you know what, at this point we got nothing to lose. We're definitely not even gonna be able to make it to first place, top 3 or top 5. So let's try to get some highlights. Let's try to make ourselves look good here at PMGC Grand Finals in Jakarta.
I think what's happening, they already announced that we're going to be having PMWI back in Riyadh. They're already preparing for that one at this point. Okay, PMGC is done. Let's just look to try and be the back-to-back champions of PMWI, which would be a good achievement, but as you said, sit down, finals are done. Yeah.
I was very surprised none of you guys were talking about T2K going into the next match, because they also were in a, well, not all of them, but at least Legend had kind of a big moment there with this double nade, and I was expecting them especially to be very good today.
Yeah, they were one of my teams to watch, actually, so I'm intrigued to see if they can do potentially more. Knowing the power, DRS looking good. Can we also see T2K being good? I'd love to see it.
Whether or not that is going to happen, the answer is...
We are into, I think we're into, oh yeah, here we are. We are into Miramar for game number 2 on the day, match number 14. Only 5 matches remain now. What a game from 4 AM in that last one. That was a massive, massive jump to be able to leap on up, but the crowd's getting settled for the Miramar match. The first one of the day, the first of 2 that we'll see, and the rest is yet to come. Nova, they lost a player early in that last match and didn't really get going in that one. iNCO as well, losing players early. They did manage to get up to 3rd though.
I mean, that's iNCO in a nutshell, right? They were able to somehow find a way into those final circles, those final zones, still pick up some points here and there. Getting into our match very shortly though. So do a quick rundown. A little bit of stock checking. Crowd obviously really excited to be here, and I'm also really excited to be here just because of how amazing the crowd has been. Hello my friend, my AirPod buddy.
Look at that, get those selfies in, fantastic. Everyone needs to take a record of when they were here, when 4 AM did that.
The only time when you're allowed to take a selfie by using the front camera. Taking a photo of the old screen. Honestly, this should be a good map though. And again, an awkward playing path over from El Pozo to Junkyard. Match 14, second match of our day. 3. Some of these players and teams starting to really bring up the heat just a little bit here, John. Starting to head towards that top side up to 4 AM's. Absolutely glorious performance there on our previous map of our angle. That's going to see them nice and happy towards the top of the standings. A really good chance to bring out something more. S2G obviously not having the best of games there whatsoever, Mirangle. But yesterday it was Miramar where they picked up the vast majority of their points and where they played out very comfortably. So we'll see if they can do that again here on match 2. I was saying that It is that saving grace. You come to match 5, you are S2G, you have a really confident run to actually pick up a massive win at that point of the day.
DRS denied at the final turn. They had a pretty big game themselves as well in the previous game, so it is very much tenuous. I think at the moment there's 4 teams in the lead when you bring DRS into the fold, with iNCO just that little bit ahead of everyone else. Alpha 7 though looking to try and take down a major competitor here for Angry Men with a bit of a challenge. Iron sights on this. Not super easy to control. Plenty of kick for Mythic, and doesn't really land too many of those shots either, Blank. He will not be able to curtail 4 Angry Men early on this drop. The vehicles gained and in operation for 4 Angry Men.
Good stuff there. Central circle as well, so the playing path not as awkward as we maybe have hoped. It does mean that Los Higos, Minas del Sur, Playa de Mar, Chumacera, a little bit inaccessible, but Torre Armada, Campo Militar, Tierra Bronca, La Cobreria most likely will be taken up by some of these teams. That's a tongue twister and a half for myself. I didn't do any of those earlier because I can't do tongue twisters, sadly. I just stay out of dodge of any dodgy words myself.
I've just got to say them really fast. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have to do that. So
I know.
I just keep it nice and chill, nice and happy. I bring that saxophone vibe to the broadcast.
Irish wristwatch.
You bring the electric
Irish wristwatch.
cello to the broadcast.
Do you think? I reckon I could rock a cello.
Yeah, I think so.
Give me, 16, 17 years of practice. I'll let you know.
Give me 1 second on the saxophone, and I'm ready to go. Or the saxoboom.
Well, they do
I
say...
can do the saxoboom.
All right, Jack Black, calm down. They do say, though, music is more about what you don't play. So the fact that I've never played the cello up until now, I feel pretty much makes me a master, right?
Well, I think that, the best times when you cast is when you aren't talking.
That was so mean. That was so incredibly mean. And you smell. There you go.
There you go. Look, we've all got our faults.
Really poor personal hygiene, Blank.
What do you mean? This morning I was blasted on the old deodorant and aftershave. I feel like I'm a smell sensation.
That is not personal. Okay, that's not personal. That doesn't count as personal.
Yeah, that's all I use, though.
You've got to...
Right? That's what everyone does.
You haven't showered. Have you?
No, I absolutely have.
You are the most mucky boy.
It's a soak in the rain. Look, man, it's Miramar. There's not much water around here.
True.
What can I say? What can I say?
These teams are certainly going to be thirsty for victory. There you go.
That is correct.
iNCO still at the top, though. 10 points clear with 5 teams in that front-running section now. Godlike Stalwart.
Quite quickly.
To be fair, Godlike Stalwart did do fairly well in that previous game as well, with the fights that they were able to take, launching themselves further up to boot. IHC, T2K, Nova, all the way even down to like Buriram and Wolves. I mean, they are not out of it fully, but it is getting towards that way.
Yeah, it's pretty tough now. I think our front runners of the pack are going to be quite difficult to catch up towards. It's going to be very unlikely that iNCO, 4AM, A7, S2G, DRS, not one of these 5 teams is going to gain a profit on one of these games. Before, it was a little bit more likely that it could happen, and it did happen. We saw S2G go out early. We saw iNCO not get a huge amount of points at the start of the day, which is kind of their signature move, right? So now it's much less likely to happen because instead of only having 2 teams that have to do badly so you can catch up, now you have to hope for 5 teams doing badly, which is way, way, way out of the realms of possibility here at this point in time, especially when all 5 of these teams we know are absolutely marvelous at PUBG Mobile on their separate, unique ways too. I think iNCO has their very interesting central play style, in which case, they wait until that very much end game to pick up some big points. It would be super interesting to see how many points of iNCO is purely ranking points overall. 4AM, great team when it comes to just that coordinated play. Alpha 7, just a hot streak within them. They are aggressive like nothing else. A lion inside the lobby. S2G, another one of those teams that is able to really play well coordinated as a squad, and DRS, one of our edge teams inside this lobby. So everyone's got like a very, very different type of play style, but they all play it to the best here in the PMGC, which shows you can play absolutely anything and still work out with it. And I think that is something that is great to take away from this PMGC, is that we've got a lot of individual characteristics with these teams at the top. So you don't have to play it one particular way, you just have to play it your way.
First blood goes over to Kelsey from S2G. I feel like you were talking about similarities and differences in playstyle. The most similar in the top 5, I would probably say, would be 4 Angry Men and S2G.
Yep,
and I think that's kind of what you alluded to there. And whilst it is slightly different, I feel like S2G maybe stay a little bit further on the outside for a lot of the game. Well, not a lot of the game. They sort of come through in the mid-game, whereas 4 Angry Men maybe a little bit more central leaning. That might be where they differ. Although not this game.
That's just me pointing at the map for John. Like,
but I normally see 4 AM in the center a lot more frequently than I see S2G.
I think for 4 AM, I'm just throwing
my water
on the
all
floor.
everywhere.
Look, we said that there's no water here on Miramar, so there's no water in Indonesia now either. It's for you, at least. Yeah, I think for 4AM and S2G, I would generally agree with you. I think what you're going off is mainly our angle overall, because our angle, 4AM does tend to move a little bit earlier towards the circle. I think what they've been having difficulty with is making those movements, making those rotations, and they're quite speedy with it and aggressive. That is interesting. That is very interesting. And oftentimes it does lead to them getting absolutely demolished by some of these teams within the circle. Alter Ego, though, Fnatic hits the next one. I mean, I was a little bit happy about it on the first, but that is true elation coming through for Alter Ego. Getting the second onto Alpha 7 is a really, really big piece of news. Not only in terms of Alter Ego taking on one of the top 3 teams, but also the fact that Alpha 7 is down to 2 already here on Miramar, when they're fighting for their lives in that top 3.
This is great news for the rest of that top 5 set of teams, right? They now have an opportunity to thin down the numbers in that lineup to try and open up a gap, turn up the heat. S2G already with a point in a central location. Hopefully they can hold on to it, have some power there. The Turkish squad wanting to have the honor of defending their title next year in Turkey.
Would be the absolute cherry on the cake there for S2G to take it all the way home. Max is back on the desk once again.
What's he got there? He's got goodies.
He's got a special little goodie. Is he going to show them to us? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll find out. What's he got there? What have you got there, Max?
He's got some BTR merch.
We'll find out later.
Repping the old Indonesia. Fair play to him. With that, the BTR merch not only brings Max a lot of happiness, it also brings Alter Ego the center of the circle.
Fantastic to see as, absolutely, that hard west shift coming on through. The Indonesian roster will have to hold off against some pretty fearsome foes, though, as S2G swinging on the north.
Good position. Very difficult spot this is overall to play. There's a lot of space here, which is really inaccessible. Down towards Monte Nuevo on that southeast side, fielded area. The southeast of El Pozo, more fielded area. Last-ditch attempt resorts there on that side of the map. Down towards the south side of Credit Fields, a place that HVP would play very, very often. The S2G would tend to kind of challenge them out on and not really succeed. And it's what would cause some huge amounts of problems. They've tried to get up towards it, but Alter Ego are already on that position now. 4AM loses arguably their front man, their lead singer, here in the PUBG Mobile PMGC.
There's too many P's
no,
and M's.
Don't talk about it. Don't even mention it. In the PMGC, Chemin going down in match 2. This is a bit of an awkward one for him. And now 4AM have to play just the rest of the instruments here. Try and work it through. Nenebete taking a bunch of damage, but doesn't go down, doesn't fall just yet.
Slides through the staves of Nova. Keeps himself out of treble, keeping with the music theme.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
I liked it too.
Oh, okay.
Vitali doesn't though. He is going to be pretty discordant with that one. And ends up reaching the crescendo in the stage 2. The middle of it. That was a stretch. That was a stretch.
That was a stretch. That was a bit of a stretch. Anyway, straight back into the game. Vampire Esports are obviously struggling. We talked to Satani just a little bit earlier, saying that ideally they'd love to be in top 8 by the end of today. I don't know how easy that's going to be for them. There will have to be a real turn-up in performance. The fact that they weren't able to get too many points on the start of the day, well, I'll take that back. They did get 2 points. I just don't know if it qualifies as too many points. GEEK Fam, also on our screens at the moment. That's towards that northern side. I think they fell down quite a bit right now. I think GEEK Fam were on a pretty hot start for themselves. They looked good. You're dragging themselves out from PMPL, moving up towards PMGC with this core roster. Look strong, look promising. Fortunately for them, I think there are just a different type of beast in this PMGC as a whole. Nova over towards that eastern side. Influence Chemin coming in through San Martin. Stalwart as well in this circle. Alter Ego still holding on to a very strong position with high ground, a very typical position as well. And iNCO, dead center. So again, I think we're looking at the iNCO game. This is just a case of racking up those rankings, not putting too much attention towards those elimination points. This is not a strategy that will work next year, though. And that's something to consider right now. This is not a strategy that will work next year. The ranking points will be too low, and they're spread out much thinner as we head down the table. So elimination points become all the more important. So I think teams at the moment that you're looking at who are prioritizing, you know, getting those high elimination point games, getting those big chicken dinners, these are the teams that will be looking good going into next year.
You know what would be interesting is to take a look at what the points totals would have been if we'd have implemented the points change before this tournament, right? To see how these teams would have fared if we had changed it to that 10-point chicken dinner before, and maybe it could have changed some things up. Maybe I'll have to run those numbers afterwards, Blanca. If anyone out there is watching, they can tweet them at me, and I'll be very grateful for that. But for now, iNCO still sit atop the pile with a 10-point lead in match 14. Blank, something else that's very interesting when you take a look at the numbers is the fact that nobody right now has more than a 10-point average. We normally see at least 2 or 3 teams at that point at this stage.
Yeah, what we're seeing at the moment is just a real even split between all these teams. And again, this is what it comes down to. You'll see this happen maybe in PMPLs, regional clashes, or PMWI. But when you really do cut down to the leanest and the meanest of teams here in the PMGC, you are certainly going to see a lobby that maybe isn't able to hit that 10-point average just because there are so many teams winning, there are so many teams that are making the right choices, and it is just a case of if you get the right circle, you have to win within that right circle. And there are a lot of teams at the moment that are getting those right circles and then are converting those right circles into wins. So this might not be a case of, you know, any team particularly being terrible, but just some teams leading ahead by certain games where they don't get the right circle, but they're able to get a 5th place now and again with some eliminations here and there. It's really just chopping away at that points total time and time again and never letting it up. And I think that's what 4AM's been able to do a lot. Alpha 7 has a different approach to that. They're a bit more momentum based. You know, they burst out from nowhere, get some big points, then they fade away just a little bit. They always bring it back. iNCO, on the other hand, a ranking points-based team, 100%. A little bit of circle look throughout this tournament. Regardless, they've done a lot with it, and I'd still be happy to see them take the grand title home.
The drums bring the circle to keep Potato in it on the high ground position that he occupies on the northwestern edge. DRS potential to move in behind that position and wrest control back, but Potato, if he spots that, doesn't want to take the fight, there is a massive opportunity to just jump off with a vehicle, roll over to the rest of the squad just further south.
You can certainly disengage from this one, down towards the rest of your team. Alpha 7 though, damn rude. From GEEK Fam, looking to finish them off, but it's S2G from the wrong way.
Uh-oh, Revo has to evacuate and will be cut down in the process. Alpha 7, 16th place, they're eliminated. GEEK Fam stay alive, get to cover, but there are shots coming through from across the road. S2G doing hella damage, having an impact here and racking up the points where they can. That's one of our top 5 teams out already, Blank.
Alpha 7 certainly having their fadeaway game right now. Not good for them. Only 4 more matches after this one. It's not really a case at this point in time of losing that hope anymore. You're going to have to keep pumping those numbers. If you pump those numbers right at the end of the day, it might not be enough, because by that time a team like iNCO or 4AM, S2G might have already built up that consistent average that they're so far ahead of you that one chicken dinner is not going to cut it. It would have to be one hell of a chicken dinner to make something like that happen. We've seen it before. Be a great conclusion to PMGC, but is it likely? No.
DRS slowly encroaching on the high ground territory on the northwestern side, but Potato, he's well aware of it, and Influence Chemin might actually force their hand slightly. Rules going down, getting flushed out as well by Alter Ego. Really quite big, brings them down to 3, and Influence Chemin can start to move in behind. 4 players alive, and they have really gone for a wide swing here. Potato, if he can just stop DRS from pushing forwards, he can play them off against one another. Influence Chemin, position aware of now. Killer moves in with the auto shotgun, but backs off. Don't want to go for the trades just yet. Federal and Lil Boy close by, and Gianti nearly gets the better end of the deal there. Potato not chiming in just yet. Kailovsky is lit up as well, and Influence Chemin's push has some trouble.
Nade around the side.
Oh.
Beautiful nade there coming from Giante. Little Boy goes down. Fair amount of damage towards Law and Federal. Can't really afford to get the med kits off just yet, because there's more nades, more damage coming through that way. Alter Ego, Potato might want to get involved on this one. Delta looks forward towards the smoke. Federal all by himself. UMP looks to shoot them through the smoke here. Can't find it. That's Influence Chemin down to 1 player. DRS taking them apart systematically.
Oh dear, they will fall all the way on out. 15th place and no eliminations. That's big news for DRS, picking up 4 elimination points as well. They are 1 point behind Alpha 7 now. How much further can they go? iNCO with a challenge. 3 players alive from them after losing 1 early. Nova will be rocking up on them. With 1 player down, they are at a numbers equality, but that res is available on Jimmy.
Then they make some good shots there. I did like them. Just trying to angle them over the top of that ridge side. Hit some soft flesh where he can. Fortunately, not quite enough, but now iNCO's in a pretty tight spot.
Over on the east side, with the backstop. Potato still holding on the high ground. 4 Angry Men further out west and will need to push on in. 4 Angry Men probably with the toughest time of the teams at the top right now, Blank. Alpha 7 having already gone out. So I suppose the time is tougher for them, but of the teams still in it of that top 5, 4 Angry Men with it all to do on this rotation.
We set up S2G as one of the best teams here on Miramar. And towards the center they are right now, a really strong spot. Helping GEEK Fam take down Alpha 7. During that initial push, it will be hard to remove them from this compound. 4AM, like you said, tough rotation ahead. Over some rocky terrain towards Alter Ego's position. Potato over on Sandhawk, we saw how effective his high ground position was. Stalwart will send a grenade over the top towards Nova. Frozen already falling. Looks like a nade is in the hand and the pocket of Nova themselves. Try to send one back to push action away, but Pika ready with one of his own. It looks good as well.
Oh, it's right on the money. Jimmy goes down. Frozen has a teammate now to join him. Action backed off the hillside, and that is the backup that you want. It's Paraboy from a position further up. Order launches one over. Frozen needing to get res now, and Action burning down low. The nades don't burst on target as Paraboy rolls in for the backup. iNCO looking to put pressure on now as they take their approach. Top up in the party bus. Smoke blooms over on the godlike stalwart position. And that fight is just about to start heating up. Nova caught in the middle of it, but they are all together. They are all as 4 on the eastern side of the circle.
Not much hope at 4 AM there. We saw them in a dire situation. More nades still popping their way. Sky only comes up. Good Xiao cannot finish it off, and Ching Chen still going for the heal. Pushes out wide, tries to go for the finish. Will find at least one, but I think Kengzo might just be able to finish this. Possibly, maybe not.
Needs the reload. Ching Chen spotted, and there they go. 4 Angry Men fall, and now 2 of our top 5 teams are out of this game. DRS still moving in. S2G, iNCO, all still with the fight. In the meantime, over on the eastern side, Nova are fighting for their lives, caught between godlike Stalwart to their north and iNCO to their south. Nade over to the back, found peak at order, doesn't go down quite yet. The second peak from top is good, but it's traded off by Jimmy with the micro Uzi at range. Action now last standing in the engagement for GODLIKE Stalwart. Scry down to the north a lot further. The nades can start to pour in, but instead Nova just want to stay alive as 4 on the eastern edge.
This is ridiculous for Nova at the moment. Almost feels like they picked up a rainbow mushroom there, because they are pretty invincible over on that side, taking that fight not only towards Stalwart, but also towards iNCO. Alex, though, what a disgusting spray coming through. Finds at least 2. IHC really struggling, but Ravenclaw last alive for Vampire. Tries to finish off the fight. 1v1 available.
Ziol, last standing, a sliver of HP, first aid allowed. But the res coming through potentially from Ravenclaw. Flux will be the target. And the res is coming through from both of these rosters. Nova, in the meantime, are still all alive. Looking to try and keep themselves going. Ravenclaw around the edge, has got a teammate back in, and Ziol falls. IHC eliminated. And Vampire stay alive. Jimmy, order transferred on by top as we hop back on over to the eastern edge. Paraboy with the off angle, not quite able to slow down GODLIKE Stalwart. Frozen, the only player holding now on the main position from Nova. They'll have to go a little bit further into the circle. A flush onto 1 for top, and Paraboy starts to light it up. No punishment found, no knock in response, but a lot of damage, and there's a beautiful knock coming through from Action over the top of the smoke. 2 players up top to deal with now. Order and Frozen both in action. Top not going to take the knock just yet. There's the first spray, and Action is good for more. He takes down Paraboy. He moves up, and he takes down the rest of Nova as well.
The roughest of positions there. But the boys, the deadly duo, still go strong. They make it happen. Not even Nova can bring this duo down. But look at S2G. In a veritable fortress of their own inside this map. Still trucking. iNCO in the game too, down to 9 teams remaining, 26 players. A lot of teams, a few players still left alive. Fireflux with 4 though. Alter Ego still going strong, looking over towards DRS's position on the north.
Alter Ego have Potato on the high ground. iNCO swings wide and does what Nova could not. Becker has been put back just a little bit. Potential to get flushed here. Nenebete close by. Don't really want to step out that nade. Oh my goodness me. Catches the sliver and catches the sliver of HP on Becker for Nenebete. They want to stick this heal. They want to stick this res. Going down to 2 wouldn't be the greatest right now with a little bit more to go, but unfortunately they don't have a choice in the matter.
Nenebete gets knocked. Action looks to steal.
Oh dear.
4 eliminations now to 5. Great stuff. Now just squash remaining. iNCO, 0 eliminations on this game, going down in 8th. It's a few points, but it's not a lot.
Alter Ego, they have been dominant on this northwestern side. DRS now losing another player down to 2 against the hold from Potato. Action falls and GODLIKE Stalwart with them. iNCO also taking the knee. And no more will they fight on. DRS and S2G now are 2 remaining teams in the top 5.
Fireflux, 9 eliminations. Really strong game from them. And again, not too far away from 6th place, well 7th place realistically, with 72 points and 9 eliminations on board. 6 teams remaining. I mean, sure, it might not be a top 3 moment, but Fireflux might just be able to reinstate their name as one of the top contenders through this single one. Have to make something big out of it. Alter Ego still in. You can hear the crowd behind us cheering them on. See how far they can go with this.
They've already got 8 eliminations and 4 players alive, with Potato on such a massive, powerful high ground. DRS not taking it from them. The 8 elimination count will be crucial if they want to launch themselves from the bottom of the tables. But Calci from S2G, this is a team that has power on Miramar all their own.
S2G, again, compound still in. This is why this compound's very strong, especially when you know circles ending around here. It's such a large compound that no matter where the circle shrinks to, a little bit should still just be about in that you can play from. So leaving this area will be difficult for S2G, so I hope they brought vehicles with them. DRS playing around the shadow that Potato creates. Some good nades from S2G, honestly. Vampire finding it very difficult to find any kind of respite on that area, on that side.
Reposition up to the top floor from Hamzy. Spots Lutz trying to flow down the hill and will be able to get the spray. Hamzy lighting one up, and Solus actually under pressure as well. Razy spots a player over towards Alter Ego, knocks Potato up the top of the hill. Unfortunately, that would be a really, really valuable pick, but the blue zone will push them out nonetheless. These shots are going to be so, so crucial. Keeping that K9 in the hands of Razy could prove to be a game changer as Silas sits Ponbit back.
I think realistically, a lot of these teams just have to wait right now. Fnatic finds Ravenclaw. That's another 1-9 elimination so far. Fnatic, an absolute roll at the moment. 7 eliminations, all is lonesome for him. Razy, this K9, disgusting weapon. I think for Alter Ego, patience is the name of the game. S2G's life is going to become hellish when they have to leave this compound. I think they realize they need some more points, so going for these eliminations, risky, but also rewarding.
They don't have many options, and Ponbit will look to start the scout. They have to move up to the ridge line. Razy looses another bullet. Silas as well with angles over towards Fireflux, who are split right now and burning the candle at both ends.
To be fair, this ridge side, well, this little ditch that Alter Ego is able to play underneath the road, actually fairly decent. Getting Ponbit down there immediately whilst the other team is probably thinking about rotating. That's fantastic.
Oh, I don't even think Kelsey knew there was a player there. He was just shooting out towards a buggy. Saw the tag and went, oh, okay, I'll pick that one up. S2G, 4 players alive and still going strong. Ponbit being the forward guard for Alter Ego, the other 4-player roster.
Sending smokes down the train now, allowing the rest of Alter Ego to move up, move through some high ground potentially. Circle moves a bit further away from S2G. That is absolutely disastrous for Alter Ego. At this point in time, they needed no casualties coming through. Getting up towards that high ground position was fantastic for them. S2G will have to move on the next zone, but Alter Ego, they need to play their cards right now. They need to be calm, they need to be patient, they need to breathe this one out.
Like a spotted Silas, picking up points for the squad. Snipes last for GEEK fam. A team that we haven't seen too much of. And S2G need to do the work now, Blank.
It has to happen now, purely because of the open ground in front of them. With one player already taken down, taken low off of Hamzy G. Potato, a nade over the top, a good lob. Fnatic still on knee, looks to be picked up. Potato has provided them a little bit of support. And outside the play zone go down DRS.
10 eliminations now on the board for Alter Ego in the final zone. Shots over towards the high ground there from Silas, but S2G are going to have to leave into the sight lines of everybody else looking their way. Fnatic gets knocked. There's a crossfire established, but out go the smokes and out go the vehicles. S2G with a fast crash across the road. Razy goes down, opened up on as well. The rest of Alter Ego looking to finish it here and now. Silas is cut out of the fray, and now the players at the back are all they have left. S2G are gone. It's only GEEK fam. The reses are available, and 4 players from Alter Ego, a high ground position, and that's all they need. Alter Ego take it home. A massive, massive chicken dinner. Make that 2.
What a way to finish that one out. 2 chicken dinners at the PMGC 2022. An unreal result. They are giving it out in droves for the crowds, this PMGC. Really taking it all the way. What a good crossfire they set up as well for that end game. They knew that S2G might have had their number if they were given a single place to look, so they do not do it. It requires gumption and determination and a little bit of ballsiness, to be quite honest with you, to make those plays, to make those movements. But they knew what they had to do to set up for the win, and they just went for it. That is just a case of, like, everything has to go right. If it doesn't, we don't take this chicken dinner. But Alter Ego They just do not let it up. Really big chicken dinner there for them as well. We'll get them a whole hunk of points. That should see them towards the top end of the lobby, towards that top 8.
Fnatic got the MVP title there, but I feel like Potato was so pivotal for them. Stopped 2 teams on the northern side from moving on in. Influence came in and DRS, forced DRS around the side instead of the high ground.
I mean, for Potato, we've seen it twice now. You give him high ground, he'll work with it. That is just the way it works. I think that he prefers to be up in the clouds. You know, that lack of oxygen gives him a sense of calm and concentration, which is great to see. I like to kind of watch that. I like Alter Ego when they have this particular play style they like to move from. But again, a very, very strong position. It's quite difficult to hold on to that position as well for a long time. They had several spots they were holding in the beginning as well, up towards that compound, up towards the field. They moved from there. They still decided where they wanted to go next. They knew they couldn't take those fights with S2G, so they just quietly tried to finish off, conclude some of these fights around the actual battlefield before waiting for S2G, knowing that at some point they would have to leave, and it's just bare ground for S2G. They knew they had to get as much done as possible, and I do think it's a slight mistake on S2G's part. They were far too focused over towards Vampire Esports, when realistically they should have 100% had angles over towards Alter Ego as soon as that Zone 8 came through, because they would have to move. They had to make a rotation.
With that game, that puts DRS and S2G ahead as well. Late game performances for these 2 rosters to push on up, but the big news here is that Alter Ego play in the rarefied air up on the high ground and take home a big chicken dinner.
And welcome back. Let's take a look at the match rankings. Alter Ego Limax with 28 points. Oh my goodness, is that one hell of a performance?
Exactly what we needed from the boys here to try and put himself back in the race towards the top, and 7. They played such a good position. Potato, the absolute monster on that hilltop position, clearing off the position away from DRS especially, and giving that information over to all of his teammates.
Being able to fend off people, and on top of that, I love the rotation. They did end up, especially at the end, they ended up getting one of the players knocked. He ended up getting revived too, and it worked out wonderful. Yes. They didn't wait long enough. That's what I'm talking about. The execution is there for this team, and we're starting to see it. S2G, by the way, with 16 points, that's going to be nice for them, being able to bounce back from the horrible first game.
DRS also with a great performance going into this match. Again, we just saw them in the late game and the game before, and they have done it again. They're racking up points right now.
I mean, you said it during that game, I think, 7, right? That you were saying, oh, they could win. And I was like, the game? And you're like, no, the event, they could win the grand final. And with results consistently coming their way like this, I gotta say, there's a clear possibility this could be an Bali champions after this grand final. This huge, but looking at the extra stats. Kelsey, my boy, from Turkey, looking good, but...
But by the way, the only reason why I said that about DRS is because they answered the main question that I had right before this match. Are they going to be able to perform outside of Erangel? And they just proved that. And that's when I was like, okay, you know what? This team can definitely take the championship home.
Talking about teams taking home championships, we got to talk about Nova. What was that against GODLIKE STALWART? It looked like they had it in their bags. And then it all turned around.
2 words. Top action. You don't mess with them, okay?
Gotta bring it up.
You got to eventually. Yeah. It was not the best push from STALWART. Yes. I think we were both like definitely having some criticisms for what GODLIKE STALWART did at that time. And Paraboy, he was like super proactive. He's like, okay, they're on the ridgeline position on the road. It's not great to defend it if you're getting just inched upon. He's like, a little bit of an off angle, and then they shut down Paraboy. That was such a key moment for GODLIKE STALWART to get themselves those eliminations and take down Nova. It was good, but I think knowing GODLIKE STALWART, they can do better.
Talk about shutting down your opponents. Hardware is needed for that as well. And what better hardware than the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV? Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV and Sony Xperia Stream were co-developed in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. And while we're already at it, let's thank Prime Gaming as well. With Prime Gaming, you can get not only free games, but free in-game content for lots of games as well, such as PUBG Mobile. So if you want to get free rewards, skins, content, then make sure to sign up. And also, we want to thank PBSI, the local esports association in Indonesia, for supporting this beautiful event right here in Jakarta, Indonesia as well. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you haven't seen it already, there are links in the chat linking to a PMGC survey. And you can find that survey either in the chat or on social media. And we want you to let us know your feedback about the show. Positives, negatives. By doing that, you may get the chance to win some prizes as well. Thank you all in advance if you are participating in that survey. With that being said, we're going into a short break before we dive deeper into match number 2, Miramar, that we've just seen.
The time has come, so see we all fade. Painted scars of past mistakes. We stay strong and refuse to break. You know the world is yours to take, and we will be the one. Time to take a stand. The world is in our hands, and you can feel the weight. The circle's closing in.
Welcome back to the desk after that short break. And my goodness, we are going into the last Sanhok game of the PMGC Grand Finals 2022. And talking about Sanhok, that last game, that last win from AE, it really reminded me of their Sanhok win.
Absolutely. I mean, starting from the high ground, being able to control a lot of teams, being able to output a lot of damage, and being pretty much guiding the teams exactly where they wanted them to go. It was alter ego, exactly what we want to see out of them. And going into Sanhok, do you think they might get a chance to win again?
I mean, now when you're looking at the chicken dinners from Alter Ego, they didn't win down like a mountain for some reason. So if it goes towards the northwestern island, but there's a chance, clearly, right? It does feel like they're confident, and especially when you have a home crowd right now supporting you the way this amazing crowd are, it's got to be a big moral boost. So I am hoping we see another win from them. I'd love to see it.
Me too.
Really interested in your opinion also of GEEK, because they're also alive in the late game, and they did a really risky move moving into one of the only shacks inside that late game area, but it did kind of pay off, didn't it?
It did kind of pay off. Unfortunately, it's really hard to hold on to that position because you have no moving space, and it makes it really tough to try and find yourself some good shots after that one. But S2G, wow, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Turkey showing up strong here once more, and no, they had themselves their bad performance, and you said it was a terrible game, but now they make it back up 7 in big way, and they're just looking so good up there. But the thing is, no, they're not even comfortable. Just 3 points ahead of iNCO, hot on their heels. And even to this point, still have no idea who will be in first place.
Yeah, I think anybody from that first pitch can honestly take that first place.
Up
and then we go here, T2K, Alter Ego, the big jump up now with 95 points. I'm telling you, if they can get another win here, this crowd is going to go absolutely nuts. I'm going to go crazy. You're going to go crazy. And I think we're going to see them at least in the top 7.
You know what? My objective for them is I would love to see them make it in top 5. If they keep getting results like this, I think that would be a win.
Yes.
Alter Ego, if they make it in the top 5, that would be their goal right now, but not an easy goal to achieve, so we'll see if they can pull it off.
Let's take a look at some of the next matches that we have coming up for you. Once again, it is the last day of PMGC 2022, and especially of the Grand Finals, so we have Sanhok coming up. We were talking about that last win from Alter Ego, the last big one at least, before going into match 14, and that was Sanhok. So we're already talking about some of the chances, but going maybe over to some other teams haven't really talked about too much today. 4AM, obviously, they did have their chances today as well, but they also had some good chances in Miramar just now. They get taken out by Kangzor pretty early on, though. Any thoughts going into Miramar about 4AM?
I mean, going to Sanhok for 4AM, I don't know. Don't really know what to expect from them. I mean, they're really good when it comes to Erangel, really good when it comes to Miramar in particular. Sanhok is not a map for me that they really stand out on, so we'll have to see. Though one team I want to see a win for, Alpha 7. They're going to have the first one. They didn't drop off boot camp. My heart is broken, but if they can get chicken dinner, I'll forgive them.
You want them to jump on boot camp?
Because it's fun. It's fun. Tell me it's not fun.
It's absolutely amazing.
Exactly. My point exactly.
Let's look at some of the teams to watch from both of our analysts. And I was, I'm surprised none of you guys picked S2G because they're still at the very top of the table. And they did just have a good round as well, 7. What about your picks?
You know what? The reason why I picked iNCO instead of S2G is because iNCO, every single time so far this tournament that they have lost the lead, they come back the next game and they regain that lead. I expect to see that of iNCO Gaming. I felt like this past 2 matches, even though they did get a good performance in the first Erangel, I felt like it was super lucky. Yes, Vitaly did end up getting 2 eliminations, but it just wasn't what I expect out of iNCO Gaming. Without the 7, I feel like it's going to be now or never. It is going to be the map that they got the chicken dinner on. You can hear everybody screaming in the background. That's because they were showing Paraboy to the crowd. And that's why I picked Nova, because for Nova, if they want to get that repeat, it is now or never. We were walking around before that Miramar started, and we saw the analysts for Nova Esports just going, all right, we need to get things dialed down.
I wanted to decipher what was going on there, but it's too smart for me. It's too 10,000 IQ what's going on in the brain of the analyst for Nova Esports. But of course, no, it's Sanhok. When it comes down to it, they can perform so on this map. Like every battleground, despite Miramar being their one standout map, they can still get themselves some wins there.
You had Alter Ego?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I got it. I said if I get at least another chicken dinner, I would love to see them get himself in the top 5. That would be the win in my eyes for the home team.
Also, going quickly over to one of the other teams you picked, DRS, I feel like they deserve it as well at this point. They have such a good showing, not only today, but throughout this whole tournament. They've been so consistent.
Yeah, exactly. For DRS, they play this edge position just so damn well every single time. And we said it, they could be the silent winners here of this Grand Finals. It could be happening. If they get themselves another result here, it will be down to the last 3 matches.
Let's see whether or not DRS is going to give themselves a chicken dinner as well. We are heading over to the commentary desk with John Annan and Black.
Plenty of support for plenty of the players here. Zuxy's not even playing, but he's getting signs.
I mean, fair enough to him. He's a cool guy. You gotta get some support from the fans. Fans are here for PUBG Mobile as a whole, not just PMGC 2022 is what we're here for right now. The last Sandhawk of 2022. Technically, I know we're in 2023, but we're closing the book on 2022 first. Make sure you're reading everything before we head towards that sequel, which is going to be very good, or so I hear. Right now, this is the exact kind of ending that we wanted. Very competitive. A lot of very good teams up towards that top side who are still performing extremely well, even under the conditions of war. An absolute crazy finish to a tournament. Massive amount of pressure still on board. Playing path on our screens though as we head into Sandhawk very shortly. In fact, right now, heading down from Cow to Docks. See where this one heads. We did see it go all the way towards that northwest side where Alter Ego were able to pick up their first chicken dinner of the tournament. So they just grabbed another over on Miramar.
Towards the top, especially after this game, Blank, I imagine that we're going to start to see teams dropping out of the race for that top spot for the champion title to lift the trophy at the end of today. Match 15, it is so close to the end of what these teams have worked all year for. What a way to cap it off it would be, well, for anyone really, to lift that trophy. Phenomenal news. Nova, if they want to defend their title, they have to stand up now.
Seven put it best. Honestly, this has to be the time for it, right? Because 3 more matches, you have to be absolutely blinders. You have to hit it outside of the park every single time. You want to be that guy that has to make that poor dude run all the way into the car park to pick the ball back up again just so that you can hit it for 6 once more. And if Nova's going to do that, it has to be some extremely potent games coming forwards. Already Circle hands up in their direction down towards Painan. Maybe a chance for it. I think the scariest thing for Nova is they've left it so late at this point in time that you're doing it on Sandhawk, a pretty unreliable map. When it comes to hitting those points, is a map where you just want to be consistent. 10 points average is absolutely fine. But for Nova, 10 points is not enough. They're going to have to go for the chicken dinner. Second place with a lot of eliminations. First place with a lot of eliminations. Third place might just cut it. But again, you don't want to have to go into Erangel and Miramar and have to continue to pump up those points. For Nova right now, this is certainly a chance to pick up a huge amount of eliminations from Painan, which does fall in the path of a lot of rotations of these teams coming down towards the southwest side of the map.
Nova might be able to pick up a whole host of points for themselves if they play their cards right here. Controlling their crossing could be crucial for their chance at the title. But for Angry Men, a little bit closer to that title right now, sat on 126, 14 points behind S2G and the top spot. And they'll be looking to try and close that gap here. Unfortunately going down in a not great performance over on Miramar for 4 Angry Men. And S2G obviously doing as well as they did. It is going to be difficult.
Yeah, 140 points. I think a lot of the attention was on that Alter Ego win. Now it sits them in 10th. With a very good capability to get in towards top 6 if they really push it to the limit now. But for S2G, can't take from the fact that they were able to get that second place, right? Well, third place over on Miramar from a very nice compound. Good amount of eliminations as well, which sits them now at 140. iNCO behind at 137, 4 AM. Really did not get a lot of points on that last match. getting crunched away on that western edge.
Godlike Stalwart playing in boot camp, central. Yet to make their full decision on rotation to move down to that southwestern island potentially. Most likely we will be finishing over there, so at least getting to the compounds to their southwest on the confluence of the rivers, on that trifecta compound blank, could be a good decision for Godlike Stalwart. Because remember, they're on 110. They're an outside shot, but they are still very much a horse in the race.
Yeah, I think that that is something that we need to consider. They do keep having these pretty good performances throughout our matches today and yesterday, in fact. With Top at the start of the day being the highest damage dealer by quite a fair bit as well. He has really been putting in the work for the team. iNCO versus DRS. Scary engagement for the iNCO here. I do think that DRS brings a lot more firepower to punch here. iNCO with the compound does provide them with a little bit of safety though going forward. DRS still looking to push in on this one though.
I feel like
disgusting shots though.
on the defense,
nice.
iNCO have had lots of practice. So if they are given a compound like this to hold, this is them at their best. And DRS, again, same as what you said, on their best performance.
Exactly. This is their kind of best scenario. It's a very, very good point, John, in the sense that iNCO is playing their best sort of gameplay, and DRS is the one who is very good with the battering ram, pushing in from the edge side. Nades come through. DRS is playing this marvelously, backing off. Texas two-step here, not allowing iNCO to get anything done, and then Nebete falls from Delta.
That was the position on the outside as well for iNCO. An off angle from Nebete is dealt with, handled, and two players from DRS are going to start to move on this hillside. Look how far away Giante and Delta are, but they do not lack the confidence here. DRS are going to play off against one another, sees Nebete get behind the rock. And the information should be gathered on over. No nades for Rules to be able to lob that behind. No Molotovs either. And teammate just suppressing those angles. Vitali in the compound for iNCO. And actually, Nebete has been rezzed now. The QBU, an ankle spotted for Rules. Does get a little tickle of damage. And up in the hunting tower, Killer doesn't quite find a knock either. These small amounts of healing could start to come through. Vitali wants to leverage position. This is a crucial fight, and with iNCO on 3 players already, they might be letting this second place on the table slip just a little bit.
Delta with a nade. Could go straight through that window there. Lobs it in. Vitali's fine. Good sprays though. Vitali takes a lot of damage. We'll go for the pre-spray on the window. Delta runs back. That could be bad news. Vitali does not peek out quick enough, and Delta finds himself in a very strong spot. In the meantime, Squash goes very low, goes down now. Vitali, last member remaining. iNCO, 137 in second place, crumbling at this point in time.
This is massive for DRS. A nade out through the window, and Vitali now last standing. A massive powerhouse for iNCO during the games we've seen so far, the first 14 matches, but in match number 15, he has to go 1 versus 4 against DRS, who started the game 4 points behind them. With this final point, they will find the equalizer. They are neck and neck now, second place for both teams.
DRS must be extremely happy with that one. Both in the same type of position too. And for iNCO, this is a similar rotation, so you wonder if DRS have targeted this. Taking them down here and early does not allow them to go for their classic approach in towards the circle. Alpha 7 though versus S2G, currently low on members.
Alpha 7 getting pushed down the pecking order somewhat in that last game. Looking to try and slow the lead over on S2G's side. Nades are really putting some punishment heavily in the way for S2G. Ray-Z with the DBS around the rock. Silas and Hamzy G both going low, and a lovely little opening found. No peaks being made by Alpha 7. We've talked about how they're streaky, how they're hot, how they have some power, but here they play it calm and reserved against S2G. One player remains, it's Kelsey.
Kelsey does send out a dodge. 7 was saying he'd love to see Alpha 7 come out on top here on Sandhawk. They're certainly an aggressive team. They work well on Sandhawk as a whole. Those nades were perfectly placed. In the meantime, though, we do have a botation coming through. One of the first of PMGC 2022.
Oh, yeah.
It's 4 AM. I mean, all the way from docks, and you wonder where they're going to sit in place. Maybe drop up towards where Wolves are playing. In Tambang, be a potential position to rock up towards, or towards that western side of Bantai. Also a pretty good position to play from. Maybe going for more of an edge play here for 4AM. But again, I think this is another very important game for 4AM because at 126 points, behind Alpha 7 now in 5th place, really will take something special for them to get towards the top.
Buriram
Back in that conversation, John.
crashing into Vampire's position. 1 and 2 fall. 9AP will be joined by Sky Only as well. 3rd player to fall for Buriram. And Vampire, this is a solid hold. They've managed to allow them to step into the Lion's Den. And they will keep on going. Bottom of the tables for Vampire, but even they have so much power to play with, Blank. It is so difficult to make headway in this lobby. And finally, they're able to pick up the points against Buriram. 4 eliminations. And they crossed that 60-point threshold.
Finally. It's taken a while. Again, though, as we said before, no one's really on that 10-point average at the moment, so it's really still quite malleable in terms of gaining those points, getting higher within the tables itself. T2K coming in from the southeast side. 4AM opting to go even further outside of the zone on their botation. Could even drop up towards IHC and Alter Ego, just the south side of Camp Alpha, though I do think we might see this engagement coming through between IHC and Alter Ego. Already those Yol down. This is a great opportunity for Alter Ego. Renorex moves around the side. DBS with a bit of damage, but not enough.
Alex goes for the full lap of the compound and takes a
Chemin.
little bit too much damage there from Pombit. Has to back off though. Nade in hand could prove to be really very troublesome for IHC if he able to land it right around the edge or put it into the building as well. Pombit wants to pop it through the door, back up to the building he has for cover. And Alter Ego playing a little bit smarter. IHC allowed to get the res, however, and now both of these teams have to share it, 4 apiece. 2 buildings held, and a lovely little off angle from Fnatic. The high ground held. What a rotation from him. Gets the flush over onto Demo. Needs to be worried from the side, and Tiol does not manage to slip it on through. Nade over the top might be able to do the job, though. And if Fnatic goes down here, they might turn it topsy-turvy. A lovely reposition away.
He runs from that.
Excellent heads-up play from Fnatic to keep that high ground under control, and in goes Alter Ego. Godless and Alex on the inside. The first is rebuffed. Now the rest of the team need to step forwards. Godless finds a second, and the third is there. It's all coming crumbling down. Only Fnatic now standing for Alter Ego. It looked so hopeful when they taken down Demo, but now they're left high and dry with only Fnatic.
The 3v3 could have been there, but I think with that man advantage, you never push on that. But again, the drums from the crowd, that's the type of thing that really could take you into a new type of drive, a new type of sensation, just wanting to push it out. Now Fnatic just has to live for a little bit longer. Real unfortunate stuff. Circle heads up towards the northwest side. Influence Chemin in a really strong spot towards that bridge, but a lot of water in this one. Not a lot of places to play. 4AM ditches their boat, will start to swim towards the docks of Tambang.
Somehow it's the best strategy out of a lot of these teams from the top 5. I would say in this next circle it's probably about 30% playable terrain at this stage, Blank, if you don't count the water, which I guess you could say is technically playable, but even then it's going to be very, very tricky. Not only that, but you've got a lot of shallows in that water, which you can't hide in. You can't just swim around there in that river.
No, it's very difficult, and I think that even if you look up towards that northern side, that landmass is sort of not what you want right now, particularly with the fact that it most likely will move away from there. Could even end up on the bridge, you know, which would be absolutely crazy. Alpha 7 moving up out of the blue now, just getting out of it, heading up towards T2K's location. S2G still in the game with Calci all the way on that northern edge by IHC.
With the eliminations that Nova have been able to find so far, 2, they do break into 3 digits. 101 points now. We said at the start they need a big game, every game from here on out. They are still as 4, and then on the southeast side, and pretty much the center of the playable terrain. Mythic spotted, cut out, and Vampire continue picking up their 5th elimination of the game. Oh, Carrillo wants to push them back, though. And Schwepp finds a 2nd as well. Carrillo looks for a 3rd!
Oh, he gets it as well.
Oh, my goodness me, but not going to be good enough, unfortunately. A 3rd party comes on in. And that is beautiful news for Vampire to keep themselves alive, but my, what a go of it from Alpha 7. Shift comes in, it's all the way down south, and 4 Angry Men, with a rotation playing out in the water, somehow, Blank, have one of the best positions in this next circle.
Yeah, extremely strong. I think the real question for me is, can they get up onto the coastal side? Currently still in the water. Most likely we'll have to move up towards the docks on the northern side that Influence Chemin are currently holding on to. So a little bit awkward, certainly still playable. Question is, how much loot do they still have? They weren't out in the blue for a very long time either, considering how much water was still in. I think they played that move very, very exceptionally well. Just because you're on that western side anyway, usually they might have thought about dropping in earlier on the south, but they understood that there's so much water out there. We're outside that 400-meter LOS range, so we can just drop out the vehicle. No one even knows we're here. We swim towards the coastal side. It's not likely anyone's going to be looking at that coast anyway if they didn't see a boat in the first place. So for 4 AM, this is a very heads-up play. It will kind of run on the curtails on the fact that if they can get up onto the island itself without Influence Chemin spotting.
Some more swimming going on through. IHC sharking off the Fnatic. Trying to live his best Dolphin life here. Going to struggle with it. 3 players in pursuit for the squad. Nova playing on the eastern side of the circle, just to the southwest of Ruins, will be guarding out DRS. A very important fight for not only Nova's progression, but DRS's to try and climb up those tables towards S2G, who are still going, by the way, with Kelsey on the northern shore, but I'm sure that's going to be very difficult to make any more headway.
WWX making a dangerous move right now. Swinging over the top side of this rock. Fnatic doesn't take too much damage, but IHC, unfortunately, spotted much quicker. DRS just to move in towards Nova's position, but gets sent back fairly quickly here. Good Xiao. The rest of 4 AM. Frozen, though. It's a heavy hit there, but DRS is just slowly but surely bleeding out as the bullets find the target too many times.
Just Delta remaining under the purview of Nova, who seem to have turned it up a notch. 5 eliminations now on the game. That nade is going to cross with the one from Frozen. And Delta takes a little bit of damage. Frozen and Jimmy playing off that same angle, trying to move on forwards as much as they can, as GODLIKE Stalwart on the northern side clashed with Influence Chemin. It's going pretty even on that trade over on the northern side. If DRS go down here, it is going to be so close, with Kelsey almost certainly going down fairly soon. I think he's still healing right now in the blue zone. We saw that strategy go a little bit down the pan with the changes to the circles that we saw, but you can still get to maybe a top 8 if you're lucky.
Top 8 certainly still available. Stalwart moves up though. Influence Chemin taking punishment here from them. Pika moves in, finds another little boy. I think last remaining now for the team. Wolves in the meantime keeping GEEK fam off their doorstep.
Pushing them back. Pick Feet, the only casualty so far for Wolves, but in come Nova to try and play spoiler. There they go for S2G as well. So the top of the tables is down and out. Delta most likely not long for this game either. And the nades from Nova start to pour in through the windows. One more launched on in for Order. 3 eliminations for Order, 3 for Paraboy right now. And they're going to try and add that one as well. Pick Feet still down for the Wolves. Chinese team pushing onto Chinese team, but Memory shuts down Frozen's close position. A second knock over towards the back from Remember finds Order. Jimmy wants the res on the player towards the back. Paraboy still active. Order super low, and there's the knock. Paraboy now in a 1 versus 3 on the hold. Needs to push in, but Delta's still there. DRS are still going, and they might be the spoiler that they were looking for. Frozen knocked on the front, and Jimmy, Rezable here, sure, but the nades can come from the Wolves, and Paraboy, he's not looking his back, he's not checking his 6, and Delta might move on through and play complete spoiler. Delta falls to GEEK Fam, who play a third party, and Nova are going to stay alive for it.
Jimmy might stay up here, 33 Zan. Also on that western side, has been watching as Fnatic and IHC have rolled in, giving the information back. WWX looks over towards that spot, and Zjol might just try and play spoiler, but the information's already been gathered, it's already been thrown through, and already 4 AM are starting to swing, sift, flow down towards this south side. And Fnatic's still going for Alter Ego.
Let's take a minute to talk about Vampire, though. They have reached 10 eliminations. They hold a massive high ground compound in this next circle, Blank. We've seen them take a fight. They held out Buriram really, really nicely, and they've been leveraging their position ever since.
Absolutely. It's going to be difficult to remove Vampire from this spot. They knew they needed the big game. Scry tries to run across, but it's over open ground. It was only a matter of time before some of those shots hit, and this is the PMGC. This is where the players don't miss. This is where you give them an easy shot and you go to your knees.
Speaking of, Paraboy and Jimmy lighting it up against GODLIKE Stalwart on the hillside. The Wolves still in their compound, holding out Nova with the blue zone pushing in. They do need to go for this fight. It was slowed down earlier and taken out of the mix. And teams are really not willing to give any ground. 4 angry men want to go on the chase. They had 14 points to make up, but Svan goes down to top. 2 players active for GODLIKE Stalwart. Fnatic still in the water underneath, but Zjol's close by. Looking to roll that one up. Paraboy knocks Nova, find the last as well, and Wolves alive with 3. 7th place, 6 eliminations. It's not terrible, but Blank, they needed more than that.
They did need more than that. 4 AM as well. I thought that push from Spam was a bit weird. Massive grenade there. The only saving grace is a nade takes down top. WWX has to hit this first aid kit soon, but he's out into the open now. I think 4 AM's going to struggle. Already down to just 1 player in WWX, and he has to hit one of these shots.
5th place for Alter Ego. Ravenclaw nearly gets away with it, but WWX, Meerkat's back. Underneath, peeks down. Wolves are now looking to roll on in and play from the bottom of the hill that everybody else has struggled with so much, but underneath them, it's action and maybe a little bit of an unknown X factor here. I don't think they know. They're certainly not aware. Steps up, pick feet. Oh, he's whiffed the spray completely. Action now. 3 players bearing down right upon him.
He's
somehow
away.
Gets to some sort of semblance of safety, but he's finally sought out and sanctioned for his trouble.
Wolves versus Vampire, and Vampire up on high. But it's a 4v4, an unlikely setting here on Sandhawk that we see this type of engagement. Both sides own some cover. There's a row between both of them. But Vampire want to end up in the top 8 today. Like Sir Tanny was saying earlier, the coach from the team, this will have to be the clean 1v4. 4v4.
They started the game on none 157.
That is true.
So they are going to need to...
Most teams are on the hundreds and somethings.
Exactly. So hopefully with this game, 14 eliminations, they're looking to put more up as well. They might even challenge the 18 elimination game we've seen already today, Blank. Coming on through, but Pick Feet has other ideas. Memory has fallen in the meantime, so 2 players active for the Wolves. 15 eliminations on the card for Vampire with 3 more left to gain. 1 more now stands between them and the chicken dinner. It is Vampire from the bottom of the tables. The looks of relief on their faces as they pick up an 18 elimination chicken dinner. 33 points on the game. That'll see them up to 90 points now, Blank.
One of the most inconsistent teams I've seen in a long time, and one of the most interesting teams in their inconsistency, because they can either be very low on that streak or be up towards the 20 points a game mark. You don't see that very often in a team who fluctuates in performance like this so often. PMWI was a great example of when they were up on their numbers, right? And again, this is the type of game that we saw so often from them, and it looked almost effortless over the time when they went up against Alpha 7. But other than that, it was effortless for them. It looked like they made all the right moves at all the right times. They were taking some incredible shots, which were pinpoint accurate, by the way. And that end game, which is the case of Wolves came up, they were expecting they were going to go for a very rough fight. But It was just a ridiculous amount of grenades going over the top, all perfectly placed. Bish bash bosh, the fight's done.
Well, they wanted to be in the top 8, Blank, and they might have been able to do that here with a big chicken dinner. 18 eliminations and a chicken dinner.
Whoa.
Chicken dinner for Vampire Esports.
Not sure what a chicken dinner is, but I do believe we've had a chicken dinner in our hands anyways. Vampire! They are coming out of the gate swinging today, apparently, at least in Sandhawk. And that is something I think none of us... Actually, did one of you pick... Oh my goodness, Seven says yes. You did pick Vampire. If that isn't the prediction of the century.
Remember earlier when you were trying to ask a question about Vampire, if they can make the first place, and I just absolutely cut you off, but I also said that this team does have the potential to get a win today and just showcase their skill, because we know they have the skill. I mean, we got a chance to see it firsthand when we were at PMWI earlier last year, actually. It's just, as Blank put it best, like, it's one of the most consistent teams out there, and they're just fun to watch.
Yeah, they're really fun to watch, to be honest. That push on Alpha 7 was like, this is actually a good push. Good push. Then Carrillo had the DBS. Then it was not a fun push anymore for them. So, as stated, then, very inconsistent team when it comes down to it. And for this event, not been looking so good so far. But no, this is just like a little explosion. Like, we're still here, guys. Don't forget about us. And they'll get a little bit of a prize pool increase too. But as you said, Sertani said, if they can get himself in that 8th position, that is going to be their objective. And with games like that, it's definitely in arm's reach.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Maybe one team that we saw in the late game as well that I want to touch on. Wolves. They still haven't gotten a chicken dinner in PMGC 2022 in the grand finals, but they've come so close just now. Is it something you expect to happen?
I didn't hear the team name. Can you say that? The team
Wolves. Wolves is what I mean.
Yes, I think it could be happening for sure. I mean, I think that the way they pushed out that compound more specifically was really good on the player I was talking about. They're lucky. If T2K do not third-party that fight, Seven, I think we lose both teams, potentially, to like whatever the hell is happening in that fight. But T2K saves it up for VP.
Why you gotta bring that up? Why you gotta bring that up? With Alpha 7, by the way, the crazy rotation that they did in that match to just go through everybody and try to push it, it kind of worked out until it didn't when Vampire Esports did end up pushing towards it with the match ranking. Here we go, 33 points. I mean, that's definitely gonna put them closer to that top 8. Which one do you have in mind?
I was going to say a VP. I was going to say that was not like celebration. That was just relief on their faces after that game.
A good performance out of 4 Angry Men. I mean, a team that definitely needed Nova as well. We're talking about how this team definitely needs to react, and it's good that they did that because guess what? iNCO Gaming, 0 points. S2G Esports, 2 points, and then Alpha 7, 3 points. So if there was ever a time to get a little bit closer and make it even tighter at the top, to just leave us suspenseful. I think even going into the last match, I think last play is going to be the deciding factor for who wins.
I think it's going to be down to the last game between what? 5, 16 potentially. that is how close it is currently at the top. But I also want to bring up, that was absolutely Chinese dominated this game when it comes to Sanhok. Wolves Esports in 2nd place when it comes to point, 4th and 5th respectively, 4 Angry Men and Nova. Really once again doing good on this battleground, but we're done with Sanhok. It doesn't matter anymore. You only have Miramar and Erangel left to go.
And with that said, I mean, DRS Gaming, they did end up with 5 points, and now we're going to be going into Erangel as well. I'm pretty sure those extra points are going to push them up even more, as they are currently in 4th place. S2G maintaining that 1st place. 4 Angry Men now with 2nd place, 138 points, and iNCO Gaming does go down.
It is absolutely furiously close. Look at this, 142 points going down to 6th place is 123 only. That's not even a win, essentially. That's just a good game. And looking over at the 2nd part of the ranking, we will see just that as well. Still plenty of teams that have got the choice to maybe come out swinging, just like we just saw in that last game from some of the teams on the 2nd half. Maybe not Vampire again. I mean, we were all kind of counting them not into the favorites anymore, at least the possibilities. Maybe someone else from that 2nd side.
I think up to 7th place, up to where Nova is, any of those teams can take 1st place.
Yeah, but even that, you're looking at teams on the 2nd page, if they get themselves a pop-off game, they're in the race. Like, you're asking for predictions. How the hell are we supposed to predict 7? We're supposed to do analysis. How do you analyze this situation? I have no goddamn clue right now.
All right, let me give you a little bit of context of why I didn't pick anybody here from the 2nd page, at least towards the top, right? It's because T2K, yeah, they did have a 16 elimination game. Yeah, I think it was the 2nd place finish. I just don't see any of those teams having 2 pop-off performances.
But it could happen.
but I don't see
telling me there's a chance.
but I don't see it.
Fair enough. You know, I do respect that point, because if your team is inconsistent, not able to close off games, you're not looking confident. But the fact that the hope is still alive, and we saw insane comebacks in every esports, even more specifically in PUBG Mobile Esports. So the hope is still alive. The teams can still make it happen.
Let's look at some of the drop spot locations. I quickly want to touch on INF, because I really thought they had a great chance of the great game in the last Sandhawk match that we just saw as well. But they have been so inconsistent the last 8-9 matches almost.
We're going to have one of the Brazilian teams, unfortunately, be behind, and in this case, it is going to be Influence Chemin. And I still think this is a team that, during the league stage, just showed absolute greatness. But the grand finals, I mean, they're just completely outclassed by your iNCOs, by your Alpha 7s. It's unfortunate, but a team that still has potential and that could still make it up there.
Yeah.
They need a win, though.
I think it would have been reasonable for me to sit here and with my bias towards Brazil, think that there was going to be 3 teams at the top continuing in the next 3 days, right? That's why I was waving the Brazil flag at the start of day 2, because I knew
While you still could.
Yeah, exactly. While I still could, because I knew one of those teams was going to end up dropping off, and it definitely happened that way.
Talking about dropping off, Flux is in last place right now. And whenever I watch them in the early game especially, I always feel like the rotations, sure, they're maybe a little bit late, but I feel like they do have opportunities. They're just not capitalizing on towards them.
I think you just described it super well there, right there, Alex. They have such good opportunities to get in good positions, to do their rotations. They're just unfortunately a little bit too slow. They hold on to their splits too long, and they lose players like one player or two just too quickly, and that really just hinders their chances of a potential chicken dinner almost instantly. So at Flux, I had high hopes for them, but right now my hopes are just crumbling down to pieces. I'm disappointed this event for them.
Disappointed in Flux, Maxman is. Let's look at some of the teams to watch. And Maxman, starting off with you, Nova, 4AM, and STALWART. Can't explain.
STALWART's been having a little bit of a redemption, right? Their second, third place of yesterday, they gave themselves some good points. Third place here. Like, that is not that big chicken dinner that I still want to see from a godlike STALWART game, but it's enough to still remain in the race, to slowly but surely climb back up. They're in 6th position right now, I do believe. That is close enough to still become the world champions right now. That is how close it is for them in this event.
Oh, man. I have DRS. Because... sorry, Max. I'm just thinking about DRS. They were able to show me some stuff in Miramar. We still have 1 Miramar left. And then we're going into Erangel. We have seen what they're able to do in Erangel. We do have 2 games left. This team set themselves up perfectly for this chance to go for that push to first place. We've seen S2G have some great performances, but they are just not able to be consistent, right? They're not able to be consistent to the likes that DRS has been able to be consistent and maintain themselves there towards the top. Godlike STALWART, I 100% agree with what you were saying there. And I mean, with Nova, I was saying it earlier, if there was ever a chance for them to try to go back for that three-peat, it's going to be now. We did see some flashes here and there. We saw what Paraboy was able to do. And we saw Order wake up a little bit. He has had not the best tournament. We saw him get at least 3 eliminations in the last match at Sandhawk. This could be a chance.
I think it's fair to say if we see Order wake up and play at the level at which Paraboy's been playing, especially Frozen, like a big surprise. Didn't really know what to expect from Frozen. He's really stepped up in these past 2 days. If we see Order on the level we saw him last year, where he took the MVP award for that season, I'm telling you, they're going to be unstoppable. But we need to see Order up there for these 3 matches.
I also really want to, now that I quickly want to touch on that copying in terms of who we want to see in that first page as well, Alter Ego. I was surprised you picked them, I think, almost all of the times today, but not now. And I really feel like if they do want to make it in, if they want to keep that momentum, they need to perform now. They need to make this Erangel game count.
I think the reason why we keep having them as the team to watch is just on your screen right now. All the fans. Well, you got the Geek fans also. Every once in a while you'll have like some Geek fan like cries in the background, but I think it's a little bit drowned by the Alter Ego war cry. Do we have every game pretty much at this point?
They have made us biased. That's what it comes down to.
It's your fault, audience.
To be fair though, hey, the audience has been absolutely amazing. Even when it's not their team, even when the team goes down, they're still clapping for them. They're still supporting them. Even when some other fights are happening too, like they just maintaining that hype, and I absolutely love the crowd.
I felt starved for the past 2 years now of not having. That was a weird way to put it, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Not having a live audience for the past 2 years. I think the last time was actually Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken, an area where you actually were at 7. It was great to have a live audience, but we're back here once again, and some of the teams have been able to just pull some true strength from the audience being here, able to support them. And Vampire, no. seeing some smiles on their faces.
I was going to say, if this audience is like this, I can't wait to see what Turkey is going to be like in December. Okay? That's going to be absolute madness as well.
Yeah, I really hope, really hope we're going to see just as strong of a performance in terms of Turkish teams as we're seeing now in terms of S2G. I quickly want to touch on them because they're still very much in the race. And they've just had a, maybe in terms of
rough game.
Yeah, rough game. Let's just say they've just had a rough game. But going to the next ones, I mean, Sanok is always a little bit unpredictable. What are your hopes for now?
It's weird because we talk about S2G as being like this consistent team, right? Especially in day 2. Day 1, it was a little bit rough, topsy-turvy. But now they're back to that topsy-turvy situation where they had themselves that good Miramar match. Sure, we're not able to actually convert it in a win. But it was like, so far it's down, up, down once again. So I want to see just some more consistent point coming in for them. I mean, I don't think, I watched the VOD yesterday. I don't think you guys can actually hear the audience because our headphones are so good.
Yes.
The noise cancellation is top tier. But I can tell you, we can hear it through the headphones. And it's a true ambience.
We feel the floor vibrate. That's how amazing it is in
I kind of want to throw my headset in there just for you guys to actually listen to it. You know, get right there into the audience. But talking about S2G, yes, I mean, it's so weird to see, you know, S2G performing that well with Flux being at the very bottom, because I wouldn't have expected that going into the grand finals. The skill discrepancy and also the experience isn't that much, there isn't that much difference between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's some disappointments for some of the team, right? But that's unfortunately how it goes. When you have the top best teams in the world participating in one single event like this, I mean, you're going to have some teams at the bottom. It's the nature of esports. It's how things are going to be going down for some of these teams. And no, unfortunately, for the side of Flux, that's how things are going right now. Meta late game. I mean, that's it. Hashtag Nova Meta late game. Day 3 is the late game, technically. So
Wait, if we're going to be talking about Flux, I mean, something that we got to keep in mind, and we just saw it perfectly, especially out of Vampire Esports, is those teams at the bottom that are going to be playing that spoiler role, right, for the teams at the top. For the teams that are going to be working to try to get those points, that man's just taking a nap. He's waiting. He's waiting patiently. And he's also thinking about, okay, which team from the bottom, Vampire Esports, Flux, maybe influence Chemin. They're going to decide to wake up at least one game, take some points that are much needed from the teams at the top, and it's going to make it even tighter.
I feel bad. We have these our teams to watch every single time. We need like 15 teams to watch. we need more slots to be able to show the teams you want to see perform.
It's literally every single team.
Exactly.
It almost is. Talking about teams and U7, A7 has been really, really good, and I'm especially excited going into the next game because, well, they are very close to making to the very top as well. Just 15 points difference between them and the first place. Let's head over to the casters because we are going into the next match with the PMGC Grand Finals. One of the very last ones, unfortunately. John Allen and Black.
Another match, another Erangel on the cards. Blank, correct. Can't believe his eyes.
I can't believe it. No, it feels weird. This is our second to last Erangel coming through. After this, we will have a Miramar, and then finishing off with Erangel. Sadly, honestly, I'm tearing up. I don't really want to leave. It has been so fantastic here. Luckily, I don't have to leave. Happy days, happy days. But yeah, we will be finishing PMGC 2022 very soon. First, we will have to crown a victor. That game was extremely important for a couple of teams, particularly DRS, able to get a little bit far into that one, but at least they did get some elimination points, especially versus iNCO. But for 4 AM, very important how far they got. I mean, with a very odd rotation, they were right on the eastern side of the map, went to docks, rotated round through the water. It worked out quite well for them. I think it was a 4th place in the end that they were able to achieve, they were able to pick up, which is very good stuff. But that means that they are still in the running now. S2G have performed their little hearts out. I'll give them that. I think they've done really well at this event. I think that they've played a very dominant game. It feels like they're in some very good priority positions. They fight for these priority positions. They take them comfortably. And I think that S2G can definitely take it all the way at this rate. And for Turkey, this would be a monumental achievement for them should they pick up the grand title of PMGC 2022 champions. However, all that remains to be seen as we head into match 4 of Erangel.
Plane path, very heavy south lane here from Novo to the middle of the west coast, just a little bit north of Quarry. So a deep cut there, difficult to get to. Places like Severny is going to be very, very inaccessible. So T2K might go for a backup drop. Last time we saw a plane path, actually fairly similar to this. We had a northern circle on the back of it, and nobody went to C block, so I'm going to be interested to see if a team adapts to that information, or if more than one team adapts to that information.
Again, I don't think you'll see anyone going to C block on Sudnovka. I genuinely don't see it happening. I think most teams are prioritizing getting these central spots on the circle, and that means being up towards that northern side.
There you go.
I think a change like that would mean that you are in contention with STALWART crossing these bridges. Those kind of late challenges a bit more difficult. I think everyone just realizes, look, we're just going to allow STALWART to have it. There's no point us clashing with STALWART at this point in the game. It's not really a chance we want to take, especially with STALWART playing much better today as well. That's one of the things that you have to watch out for, is which team's on top, which team's looking a little hot today, and I think STALWART's certainly one of them. In terms of a team of team fighting prowess, one of the top out there, that is for sure. Looking at a lot of the other teams dropping out, Vampire coming off the back of a big win there over on Sandhawk. I think that is our elimination lead for the entirety of PMGC 2022 with 18 eliminations total. Primos drop for them. 4 AM able to get out towards North George, especially with this little bump up at the end of the plane path up towards the western coast. This does give time for 4 AM to head up there.
Influence came in close to Kengzo with Koyovsky. Federal's there as well, but he's too slick with it. Might be able to get in the vehicle. He's just wasting time until there can be some backup from the rest of the squad. You can see there is a micro Uzi on a bike. Wow, Koyovsky actually in a little bit of danger. Might be going the wrong way if he heads towards Sky Only. There's more bullets to worry about, I'm sure. Keeping them separated and actually regrouped up, so does not get pushed into danger, into the line of fire. Unlike Vitali, and iNCO lose a player early. Really, really good news for all those teams around. They might lose a second as well, as Nene Bete jumps into the vehicle and hightails it out of there.
Once again, this issue is coming through for iNCO without...
They're still in the air.
We're still in the air as well. Without a set and fair playing path, iNCO really struggles right off the bat. Because they don't have that set drop spot, like I was saying before, when everyone has a fair place to land, you aren't seeing people dropping in random locations. But when this happens, iNCO doesn't have those little areas that are free that they can start to trash loot in, then move to the center quite quickly. They have to drop in areas where other teams are. I don't think they are the best at early game team fights whatsoever. So for iNCO, this is really bad news, having these two Southern Playing Paths matches in a row. Right now 137 points in third place, tied up with DRS. In fact, after losing one player, it might even be iNCO slipping even further down the leaderboard at the moment.
You cannot let these opportunities pass. But iNCO's record is undeniable here. Over an 80% top 5 rating. I mean, 400 men over 70 is incredible. But to be that consistent from iNCO is something else indeed. IHC, though, clashing with T2K. Shotguns and pistols at dawn of the game leave both teams a little bit hampered and harried. IHC, though, managed to keep everybody alive, and that is a big bonus against Rig and Jane, who did go down for T2K.
4AM also close by in this area, John. They do have weapons. They do have things to play around with. A UMP, a micro Uzi 2. Demo down the way, and it looks like 4AM is just going to pick up the vehicles and head back out. Try and meet back up again with Svan over towards North George, waiting for this engagement to conclude. Now IHC moves further down towards South George. The rotate for 4AM becomes a little bit more easy. Central position, central spot. Central spot is great. Alter Ego also towards the center of the map too, so Rozok is looking good for them. iNCO, on the other hand, have had to move up towards Yaz at the moment, which is a little bit more awkward, John.
Going a little bit further north on the 3-player rotation. DRS on the southeast side, just leaving Milton now. DRS tied right now with iNCO, 137 apiece. Alpha 7, 128. GODLIKE STALWART, 123. It's a top 6 race at this stage for me. Blank, we have 2 matches remaining. There is always the outside possibility of a Nova standout performance, and Wolves, who have put themselves in the conversation, and we have to mention Alter Ego, of course, just a little bit behind them, but that possibility is shrinking fast. You need to start to rack up eliminations now if you want those things to come through.
Exactly. Alter Ego on 1 on 10 and 2. Very good scoring for them so far. And I mean, look, up towards 7th place, they're only 5 points behind. It really is 6 to first place at the moment, which is a bit more difficult to get into. I think top 8 is a really good result, whatever team you are. Top 8 in PMGC means you're in the top 10 of the world. You're not 10th place in the world, which is kind of not what you want to say, but you're in that top 10 of the world. So getting into top 8 is a really good goal for a lot of these teams. Vampire, unfortunately, after that last game, even though they want to be in that top 8, that huge chicken dinner has only dragged them out of 16th place by 3 points.
DRS take control of the north side of Potato Hill, but the west is threatened by Wolves. They'll need to light the torches and ward them off on the west edge, but they're just staying grouped up for now, not taking too many risks. It's slap bang in the center of the circle, and there is room for 2 teams on the top of Potato Hill, but if they're going to turn their attention their way, certainly if they're going to pop shots like that, maybe that will spook DRS into going for an engagement over the top.
iNCO takes themselves out of the picture. They're going to head up all the way towards that northern side of the map. I don't think we're going to see too much out of this team and towards that end game. I think that's going to be the killer for them, because they are not playing like they are a champion team, right? That is the issue for iNCO, is that they play to survive, they play to get big points, but when you get towards those last 3 games, you have to play like that championship depends on it. I think for iNCO, they are relying on other teams doing badly as opposed to themselves taking it home for themselves.
And then you compare that to teams like S2G, to DRS, I think, one of the very proactive teams in this lobby. And you've got to wonder if they've got the legs to make this one work. iNCO, a surprise from the Brazilian region to be such a hot contender in this one. Alpha 7, maybe a little bit less of a surprise, but still very far up there, and Brazil will be proud no matter what the result at the end of these 2 matches.
Absolutely. It's a good result no matter what happens. Wolves just sending off these warning shots, letting everyone know that this territory is already claimed. A good thing to do this early in the game as well, especially towards Potato Hill, which is such a massive landmark when it comes to rotations. I think you certainly need to be on the ball with it, or at least letting other teams know that this is taken. DRS off towards that eastern side certainly is going to try and move towards that west. This is the first time in a while we've seen DRS get so close towards the center of the circle so early, and I think that's purely based off the fact that they haven't had to play edge here. They were already in a location to play towards that center, and I respect that from DRS. If they can play center and they're in the position to do it, go for it.
T2K on the north side, south of iNCO, as the circle pops on the south coast. I say south coast, sorry, south side of the river. On towards Pachinki. Slap bang in the middle of this next zone. Nova maybe looking to move into very powerful positions on the north side of Pachinki. If they want to get some big games here, this is where Nova can maybe make it work for themselves in a central position, playing on that church on the northwest side. They're very split right now, though. And a long line out from Jimmy and Order leaves themselves potentially vulnerable to teams moving through.
Potentially vulnerable to some threats coming in from that northern side, especially S2G. Influence Chemin also coming through from school side. I think Nova would love to get down towards where Wolves are currently playing as a strong position of Pachinki to be in. Vampire Esports also down towards that southwest side, towards those hills. 4AM has to make the cross over the island bridge. S2G is waiting. The direct competitors for that first place spot would be 4AM. They've spotted now actually S2G waiting on the other side. They instead intend to just bucket out of there and head up towards Ruins.
Will cross and potentially come into conflict with IHC. S2G are taking shots from across the way. I think that's Influence Chemin actually coming on through into the engagement, but Calci is humbling them somewhat. S2G don't even take a knock in response. That is powerful stuff coming through. A tonic for the nerves for S2G to keep them nice and safe.
4AM, take a couple of shots coming from IHC. It's from every side. Slightly worried about that. However, IHC still have to move. 4AM do make their way past them easily enough. Influence Chemin, pass their way over Rozok, get themselves nice and deep in towards this circle. A lot of teams already here. In fact, most teams already in this circle. One of the most central circles we've seen in PUBG Mobile in a long time, actually, John.
It hasn't been super common to see the circles finish in Pochinki, so
yeah,
could potentially be a nice little change back to something that we've seen a lot from before.
Yeah.
Seen, I think, about 3-4 Northern Circles on the trot.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Northern Circles so far. And for iNCO, who intended to kind of take themselves out of the picture with T2K, once again, run down by IHC. I mean, talk about taking out the picture. That's T2K getting absolutely painted over there.
Just Legend now on the northern shore to cross in for T2K. Out in the blue zone as well, so severely diminished, and T2K's run might be finished now. With this game in hand, they might have had a chance. They were on 101 point, I think, at the start of the game. But we are going to see teams start to fully drop out now. Anyone below 100 points at this stage will not be making it to the champion spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a real tough road ahead if you want to make it towards that champion spot, and if you're behind by this much. I think 7th place downwards is still difficult. That requires you to have a chicken dinner on top of a chicken dinner, and then a very good game to finish out with. It's unlikely. 33 Svan though. Ooh, that is real bad news. That's S2G. And an absolute winner of a decision for them. However, iNCO, Hamzy G, right over the side. A nade as well. Could spell doom for iNCO.
Well placed, and they're done for. Cooks it, but it's a little bit long. Nenebete low, has backup from Razy, who moves up that ridge line. Nicely found, and look, Nova are going to light them up from the back as well. Jimmy has a good angle into the vehicles. They try and flow around the edge, and Nenebete knows they need to get out of there. But Becca, and he will fall. Squash left, last standing for iNCO, and they have it all come crumbling down around their ears. S2G picking up those points is almost a worst-case scenario for them.
Absolutely. For iNCO, this is all just falling apart at the seams. And we said that you need to play like your life's on the line now. And for iNCO, I think they've taken that a little bit too far, because they are playing like this is the only life they're ever going to have. It's too safe. It's too cautious.
Alter Ego, though, being anything but cautious, and why not? You got to rip it towards the end. With 2 more matches to play, they want to put some numbers on the board. We've seen that they are capable of chicken dinners. They've already managed to accrue 2 over the 16 matches, well, the 15 that we finished, and the 16th match now on the cards. 3 eliminations this game, tying it up with IHC and S2G, both of whom also have 3.
4AM, now just 3 players. Fire Flux in 16th place down towards their south side. Squash finds himself a little bit of safety. And Alpha 7 fairly central. Nova split around them. Again, for Alpha 7, things aren't over yet. Still a good chance with 3 more matches to go now. Nothing is out of the picture for at least the top 5.
The headshot hills on the northern side making up a massive swathe of the circle, and S2G control it. Going to be very difficult for anyone to move into it as well. With 4AM on that west side, you can't really swing through without taking a fight, and those 3 players that remain for them will be a strong barrier to move. However, the circle gives them some semblance of safety for the rest of the lobby, and moves down towards Pochinki yet again. Nova on a 2-2 split, looking to regroup now. Look at that, Order and Jimmy sailing across.
It's a really good regroup. Great timing for it. Squash also happy about this one from iNCO. Will just be about in. 4AM may try and hold out against S2G, understanding they'll have to pass it along some quite open ground to get towards this circle. They could swing all the way towards that eastern side, but that's very clumped up. It's a difficult ending. It's Pochinki. A lot of fielded area, a lot of awkward buildings to play. Influence Chemin finding that out firsthand. All these windows.
and all this trouble. Spelling doom for Influence Chemin. One player now remaining. Federal does manage to get the first knock. And a flush potentially coming through as well. Looking for a res. Slows down any aggression. Pick feet. 4 Wolves will be able to get the first aid off. Nade cooking now. Underarm switches back to over. And a nade into the side room would be the end of plenty a player on Influence Chemin, but instead just gets the double flush, and there's the last as well, as it does get picked away. A third party from GEEK Fam.
A real shocking performance from Influence Chemin. Not in the sense of it being bad, but in the sense of it's so surprising for me to see them in 13th place. I thought that this would be the Brazilian team that we see taking us all the way towards that top 3 position. Unfortunately, they've just not found their footing here in the PMGC 2022 Grand Finals. Unfortunate ending for them as well. I think at 96 points, 1 elimination, only 2 matches to go. All but over now to try and get towards that top 5 at least. Maybe some redemption in the top 8 potential.
4 Angry Men with some rooftops to play around and S2G to slow. So important for them to do so, as much damage as they can. Preferably take them out entirely. Fnatic takes a little bit too much damage and takes the knee for it. Rules crashes into the side of the entrance there, and there's a knock going their way, and he swivels around and somehow plays it around the edge of the smoke and completely destroys Alter Ego. 15th place.
Kind of hope that Alter Ego had left a grenade behind there. Thought he was cooking one. 4AM though, taking massive damage from Squash alone, of all people. A good nade over the top, but now 4AM down to just 2 players at the hands of Squash, helping out S2G in a way. And they're going to rock up on this one, taking no chances. This is the perfect opportunity for them to take out the majority of their competition.
This is absolutely huge. A double roll-up coming through from the S2G. We've seen them do this before, and it has gone pear-shaped several times. But they're on the chase now. The last player from 4 Angry Men is taken down, and their closest rival eliminated. DRS now, a big threat for them. 1 player of theirs has fallen already. 3 players active for DRS, 4 on Alpha 7, 4 on GODLIKE Stalwart further behind.
All 4M can hope for now is for S2G to go out early, but the way they're playing, the finesse of it, the way that they're just flowing through these hillsides, taking fights and making sure no one can step to them, it doesn't seem likely. S2G are feeling more and more like a champion as the matches go on.
The west edge of the next circle guarded by Nova. S2G have been taking some pretty tricky fights, to be fair, with teams that are main competitors for them. Nova might be their next challenge, but will it prove to be too much?
Taking players outside the blue to pick up vehicles left behind. Smart move from S2G. Trying to use as many vehicles as possible because they know the run ahead of them is going to be disgustingly hard to hit. So having as many vehicles to ensure as many lives are saved, because I think that they know there are going to be casualties going into the circle. It would be amazing if 100% of the squad made it through, but is it likely? Not really, no.
Nova moved away from the hilltop that they were occupying for a long time. The church position overlooking Pachinki is currently available, and S2G might be the ones to try and take control of it. Vampire a little bit too far south and not wanting to step too far in. S2G are worried there's a team in there already, and why wouldn't you be? It's a seemingly valuable position that should have an occupant.
Yeah, Nova playing for late game there, and because they were playing a split and they are so strong at holding onto positions, they've essentially held on to 2 spots that 2 teams realistically should have had. So you're right, for S2G, this is almost certainly position that has been taken up in church. So they all just lie down underneath it, expecting to be shot at any second. Fire Flux, send in.
Vampire trying to slow them down from the south side, and Buriram will be the doorstop for them. That's low, but back to the building. Solus has his teammate swept away from him. Ketch falls as well to shots across the way. Vampire are still chiming into it. Only one player now standing, Solus on the ground floor. They think he might be upstairs, but he's a little bit lower than that. They'll hear the footsteps now, though, and they'll know he's still in here. Kengzo watching the outside, and Solus holding the door frame, waiting for someone to make a mistake here on Buriram.
Well, hold on. Buriram comes down the stairs, but it's Tiger there moving through, and Fireflux continue to have not the greatest of tournaments here in the PMGC. 16th place. Vampire overtaking them must have stung. But again, just looking at this leaderboard, 87 points to 8th place. You know, it is only 19 points away. It is one game. So everyone's really done very well during this PMGC. Everyone's put up points. There's not a single team that I think has been dead in the water over here in the PMGC.
S2G found out that the church was free and will be the ones taking it, but you're right, the points totals are so tight. Overall, we are far below a 10-point average at this stage on these games. At the top of the tables, which you would expect 2, if not 3 or 4 teams to be able to achieve over the course of a tournament. And we are over a 5-point average at the bottom, which is really quite remarkable, which is something you don't see all too often. Nade from Rules out to maybe slow down Alpha 7's approach. DRS, remember, the main threat right now for S2G on the top.
DRS looking for something more. Again, like you said, main competitor. Ooh. But a great nade to start things off. Rules is already down on A7. They don't take a single moment, or at least don't waste a single moment. They'll move straight through. 5 eliminations found for them. Again, it's not done for Alpha 7 yet. Dangerous push from S2G, but they make it. No one takes too many shots over towards them. They waited enough time. There wasn't enough firepower, enough guns looking at them. So when they made that approach, they made it by the skin of their teeth, but it was still quite reliable.
6 eliminations for S2G and all 4 of them alive. 9th place for DRS, and now Alpha 7 with 5 eliminations, all 4 of them alive, will take up the mantle of the closest chaser in this game to S2G. Shots from top over towards Mafioso as he hides behind the wheels, trying to stay hidden. The Axel ricocheting the bullets away. Mythic hops on into the pickup there. And will be alive for the time being, but there's a nade from GEEK fam, and a second as well on the knock from the nade. It's beautiful. Micah wants to keep it on pouring, and Alpha 7 being torn apart here. Godlike Stalwart might be able to step up to the plate as the next closest competitor to S2G's top spot. The nades do not stop, and GEEK fam rack up 5 elimination points already, with 1 more soon to follow. That's 6.
Refusing to allow anyone from Alpha 7 to survive this one. Just Carrillo remaining now, looking for those placement points in the smoke, but outside the blue will push him into open ground. It's unlikely that Carrillo stays alive for much longer, and Micah will put him to bed.
Damn rude, actually, the one to steal that one away. It looked like Micah had it all lined up, but this is such excellent news for Turkish fans. S2G with 4 teams directly beneath them, all wiped out. They have 4 players alive. They have 6 eliminations on this game so far. They are in a prime spot to take a huge game, so vitally important at this stage.
No matter where they drop out now, I'd say it's a good profit on the game. Even 7th place right now would not be bad for them. For 4 AM, it's going to be pretty rough to profit on top of what they've earned this game anyway. And coming into Miramar's Game 5, I said this earlier today and yesterday, that for S2G, that's a map where they do excel. We saw it on the first Miramar of the day already, and having that in the back pocket for Game 5, this is a place where you can bump up even more points. And 4AM really was suffering on that last Miramar. They didn't get very far. They looked a little bit lost. So for S2G, I'm really excited to see what they can do here. In our second to last angle, to pump up some big points here to secure their position at the top of the table.
Buriram 2 players, Wolves 2 as well. If they fall, that would put you in 5th place, which is desirable for everyone, other than, of course, those 2 teams. But We'll see what can be done. Vampire crunching in a little bit on that south side. They have got the 2 buildings there, and they're pushing in towards Kengzo. DBS in hand for Schwepp, and Fluk actually caught out by GODLIKE STALWART. Having some angles there to play with. Nova are clashing with S2G in the meantime, but Razy has some cover to play with. Backs off the high angle peak, but will be very resible for S2G as they play a little small 2-2 split. Nova not wanting to push too far out, but they'll have to regroup and push into the town if they want to keep it on going on that northern side.
S2G. Kelsey very low. Wolves have to move forward. Zone 7 right now. 2 more to go. Close to Zone 8. Nova swings round towards some compounds very close towards S2G's position. Very clumped up, so a few grenades could spell doom for S2G. You wonder at this point, how many does Nova still have remaining?
The only Malaysian team here, GEEK fam, have got 9 eliminations now, and it's a team that has fragged out before. See if they can do anything with the 4 players they have on the north side, but Micah does go down. Potential trouble there. Vampire seen, and GODLIKE STALWART have been so troublesome on this south flank of Pachinki. An urban finish, we haven't seen it so far. But now Nova, a big test for S2G. Frozen will fall first. The burn from Hamzy is good. It isolates the room and looks to put pressure on Jimmy and Order, one of whom has to leave. Jimmy will be the one to elect to do so. Hops out, and Paraboy on the corner being isolated. There's another player in the kitchen though, and Hamzy could be caught broadside, but he has backup to deal with the threat. Order falls, and now it's just Paraboy at the back. Not too much HP, but S2G have lost 2 players in the midst of the fray. Silas wants the flushes. They want to confirm these points. With 8 eliminations, they'll take what they can get. 6 teams remain, and Paraboy backed off with the burn. S2G, 3 alive, 8 eliminations racked up to 10. They are on double digits already, and with 5 teams remaining, they have guaranteed a bumper game to see themselves safer towards the top.
This is going to be so hard to chase in the next 2 games, regardless of what happens going forward. For S2G, 3 players still going outside the circle now, though. If they can conclude this game in a top 3, the teams underneath them are going to be quaking in their boots because that trophy is going to look so far away. They might need to go to Specsavers just to even have a hope at seeing it.
GODLIKE STALWART still have been looking to control so much of the ground here, but my name Pete spooks him a little, unfortunately. Doesn't manage to get the better end of the deal. Top will get the flush as well. Kengzo upstairs, hiding in the attic. A monster in his own right. King Kengzo, we called him during the group stages for Buriram. See what he can get done here. Vampire nades over the top, laid into S2G. Silas out the window, escapes from punishment on that one, but that's a lot of damage sent in, and into the Molotov from Schwepp. Has to get burnt down on the cross. The smokes are there, sure. Now it's just 2 players for S2G. 5th place finish, not ideal, but they will take it. 10 eliminations, and it's a big game to put a barrier between them and the teams beneath them. 10 eliminations for GEEK fam as well. But is it time for GODLIKE STALWART to stand up?
Vampire Esports as well, off the back of that fantastic Sandhawk. Maybe looking for even more. They did say they wanted top 8 today. I told Sir Tani, get top 5.
He's taken that advice to heart.
He absolutely has here.
And imbued that confidence into his team as well.
A little late though, don't you think?
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, really making me bite my fingernails here, man.
But we've seen how tight those points totals are, Blank, and anything can happen. A miracle run for Vampire from the bottom of the tables after match 3.
For Stalwart, maybe even. It's a real chance. I think for Stalwart, this is a big game for them, considering they were one of the closest chasers towards the top of the lobby over than Alpha 7, and they've still got 4 players going. They can rack up some big points here, John. And this is last zone now. This will push everyone in. Pika having this high ground position as well as top is so unbelievably beneficial for them. Anyone who goes onto this open ground, Pika and top, will be able to play off one another to hit them. So really, really good stuff. These smokes are so good though from GEEK fam to get through. Kengzo as well, just blockaded into the attic.
Can't afford to go upstairs though, as Mike is actually ticking away. I think he Caught himself on fire. Didn't expect to finish that one out so quickly, but do so they will. 4 versus 4 versus 4. Urban finish in Pochinki. And the nades start to fly. Vampire with 4. Godlike Stalwart on the south side. Schwepp gets caught. U-High is good for 1. A high elimination game for GEEK fam so far. Nades on in from Vampire towards the Godlike Stalwart line. Schwepp repositioned towards to go for the res from Fluk. And Nade not really going to punish it here, but Mike has already taken a lot of damage. Ravenclaw, high ground, on the second floor of the building. Snipes around the corner, sneaks
Stalwart,
back
though.
on in. Godlike Stalwart can start to move through in the back because GEEK fam have been punished from the
burn,
front.
no!
And action is going to start to tick away. Snipes the early one to fall on GEEK fam. Micah has the nade, but floods out the front and right into the sightlines of Vampire. Godlike Stalwart getting cut down, and it's chaos. Another potentially on the cards now as Vampire move in. All 4 of them are alive and kicking, and it is a second game on the cards. They just need the last, and it is Vampire Esports. They have hit their stride. Is it too late?
I don't know if it's too late, man. There's potential here for Vampire Esports. I mean, 2 chicken dinners back to back. If they continue on this rhythm, we say their performance fluctuates. Once it's high, it is so high, and it feels like we've hit midnight right now around Pennsylvania because they are going strong. I am worried for all these other teams because there is a beast in the night, and it is hungry.
Flashing red. The eyes of the Vampire turn their gaze onto the lobby and strike fear into the hearts of many, I'm sure. PMWI champions, remember, this is a team that has power. We just have not seen it until these last 2 games.
Yeah.
And Blank, with those 2 games, they have done so much in this lobby that is so tightly packed on the points tables.
Absolutely. I like that, you know, Schweppes is MVP. He got subbed out for 2 stops yesterday and was like, I am good, by the way. You won't be subbing me out again. That's just how this is. I mean, this was a couple of very good games from Vampire. I mean, that was not an easy finish on either. Sandhawk was a little bit easier, but again, good positioning. Here on Pochinki, that was the most chaotic fight I've seen in a long time. I have to give good props to GEEK fam, though, John. They did a wonderful job during that game, and it was very hard. I felt like they were going to go down 10 seconds earlier. It was a marvel to see them live for that long in the first place.
They moved up to 90 points at the end of last game from Vampire. This time around, they're going to have put a massive dent in the leads ahead of them.
It would be funny if they were like 16th place to first place.
This is crazy. Not in one day. Blank in 3 games. Like, they've done it in 2 so far. They would need a 3rd massive performance to try and cheer themselves up towards the top. And what a way it would be to be able to find our PMGC champions. But we're going to head back over to the analyst desk.
Just what is happening right now in the PMGC Grand Finals? We have Vampire coming in from very last place and making and working and pulling it off somehow with a back-to-back chicken dinner, and they will find themselves in a very good spot after that game. Is that the secret? Is that the secret behind pulling it back? You know, Schweppes being alive, finally, not dying in the early game?
I hope being alive is pretty important.
I guess so. Maybe that is the difference maker.
But really, I mean, we counted them out at the start of the day. We're like, yeah, from what we saw from you and me both, and we were like, no, it's not going to be happening for them. Back-to-back chicken dinner, not just a small chicken dinner, like their big elimination chicken dinner, and that is looking so good for them. And as they said, John and Blank during the cast, could they be doing the impossible and going from 16th to first place in the last day? It's hard, but it could happen.
If they do it, I'll be more than happy. All right? But I don't think it's going to happen, all right? I just don't think it's going to happen.
Let's take a quick look at some of the highlights from that last game, because there are plenty. That was one hell of a game. Obviously, Pochinki being the main protagonist of match number 4 for today. And at that breach alone, I was cheering for Wolves because they finally pulled off to defend that breach. And unfortunately, there wasn't much after it.
I don't know, you call Pochinki the main protagonist, I'm going to call it antagonist right there. It was not fun for the teams to deal with, but GEEK fam, they were in a hot seat for a major portion of this Game 7, and really what they were trying to do is clear all of the teams coming in from the eastern fields. The moment you do that, you can start fighting teams around you, but unfortunately, as you fight the teams on east, teams in Pochinki itself will become the major threat later on down the line.
Yeah, definitely a big game for GEEK fam, and I am just happy to see GODLIKE, STALWART there towards the top and towards the end too.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this team has been completely different, night and day difference from what we saw in day 1 to what we started seeing at the end of day 2. I think if they continue on this trend, you are going to have to just wear that jersey.
That was really interesting, talking about GODLIKE STALWART especially. Let's take a quick look at match rankings. 25 points for GEEK fam, even though Vampire took home the chicken dinner with 23 points. Now we have GODLIKE STALWART in 4th place. Really interesting that comeback, because until round 11, they did not have a single top 3 placement. Can you believe that?
What I'm actually interested on is S2G. I feel like they took massive advantage of the situation there. With iNCO Gaming, with all the teams that were kind of hunting them down to get that first place. I mean, the Turkish casters were going absolutely crazy. They were making me go crazy. 16-point game that is going to be able to create a gap, and it's going to be making it harder. And this is why I was saying that I don't expect Vampire Esports to pull the impossible because of how S2G is currently performing.
Incredible, especially since S2G took out both of their direct oppositions, which was 4AM and obviously in 2nd place.
Nova also later on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let's take a quick look at some head-to-head statistics. And who do we have here? Sylas. Ooh, who else than Sylas?
Come on, we saw Razy, we saw Kelsey doing well. We're finally seeing Sylas up there. It's been since a few games that we've been missing out on Sylas. But the thing is, the fight they took versus 4AM, the fight they took versus Nova, it just felt so damn easy. Absolutely like a knife through butter, I would even have to say, Seven. And really, the strength of this team, night and day compared to their first day of play. And now, a team that is not only in 1st place, but slowly and surely building a little bit of a lead for themselves.
I feel like their aggressiveness has definitely improved, and we can say the exact same for GODLIKE STALWART. I mean, we got a chance to see top right there as well. These teams are going to just make me not have any nails at the end of the day.
Absolutely incredible. Maybe talking about Nova for a second, because you were really worried for them after this game.
I still am. I said it during that game. Was that the match that puts Nova out of order? Not a pun intended, by the way.
Wow, okay.
I'm really not too sure, because sure, the potential, mathematically speaking, they could still make it up there. There's only 2 matches. And if the next match is a bad performance, they're done. That's it. The 3-peat will not be happening.
Whatever is wrong with Nova, it sure as hell isn't the hardware that we have right here, because they're all playing with it. And let's take this quick second to maybe thank our sponsors. First of all, obviously Sony, with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV and Xperia Stream, which were co-developed in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. We also want to thank Prime Gaming while we're at it. We can have free in-game content with Prime Gaming, not only free in-game content, but also free games throughout all genres. Everything that you will enjoy in terms of categories of games, you will find there. And to top it off, you will find free PUBG Mobile items and content there as well. So make sure to check out Prime Gaming. And obviously, we want to get your attention on towards the PMGC server. You may have noticed it in the chat already. If you haven't, you will see it in the chat and social media. Make sure to click on it, because if you do fill out the survey, you're not only giving us a chance to make this broadcast better, but you are actually giving yourself a chance to win some amazing prizes. So check out the PMGC viewer survey. You will find it in the chat and obviously in social media as well. And last but not least, for the ones that haven't opened the app PUBG Mobile in the last 2 days, it is time to do so right now, because the new update is out since start of this broadcast, since 6th of January, start of PMGC Grand Finals. So make sure to awaken your fighting spirit, you know, get right in there and check out the new update, Warrior Trial. And with that, we're going into a quick break, and we will see each other right back. Actually, we're not going into a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We might have some more time to dive into what we just saw. Any teams you want to pick about in particular?
We keep saying it, there's too many teams. I don't know which one to really talk about right now. I still want to see DRS. DRS is still the team that's like still lingering. They're still there. Got to be careful. The power can strike hard in these last 2 matches.
They definitely can. I mean, I feel like they had a great push. If I remember right, it was into Alter Ego, and they were able to get some good eliminations there. They still have a chance.
Well, that's from us. We will be seeing each other in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned as we are going into the last 2 matches of the PMGC Grand Finals. See each other right back.
turn. Take them on, it's all at stake. The time has come, so see we are fate. Pain